overview of what the PAC mandate is, as well as a breakdown of how the meeting will progress. The Planning Advisory Committee consists of 9 citizens of St. John who have been appointed by the city's nominating committee. Our role is to provide advice to Common Council on applications to amend the municipal development plan, the zoning bylaw, or Section 59 conditions, subdivision proposals, along with a number of other possible issues. Our views and opinions are independent. Tonight's meeting will progress as follows. Shortly, the committee will vote to adopt the agenda for this evening's meeting. Following the adoption of the agenda, we will do a roll call for the members of committee. We will then approve the minutes for previous PAC meetings and declare any conflict of interest for this evening's items. We will then go through this evening's application and follow that agenda until it is complete. For each item, city staff will provide an overview presentation. Following this, the applicant will be asked to address the committee. Once the applicant has finished their presentation, the committee may ask follow-up questions. We will then open the public hearing where any members of the public are welcome to address the committee. Each speaker has 10 minutes. We ask you to please avoid repetition of concerns or viewpoints. If you have a large group, we encourage the delegation of a single representative speaker. Once it is your turn to speak, you'll be called to the pedestal, and we'll ask for your name and address. The committee may have questions for you following your address. Please note the committee has read letters and comments submitted for tonight's meeting. The committee may ask the applicant to return to respond to any comments that arise during the public hearing. After this, the public hearing section is closed. No further comments may be made by the public or the applicant. At this point, there may only be questions of clarification to city staff by the committee. Please remember that this is a safe space and that we ask for everyone to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Should anyone interrupting the proceedings will receive one warning to refrain from disrupting the meeting. Should disruptions continue, they will be asked to leave the meeting. Members of the public, you are welcome to remain in the chambers to listen to the debate and decision of the committee. However, when your item is concluded, you may leave. Should you have any follow-up questions, please contact city staff. Now let's move on to this evening's meeting. So first of all, I'll ask for a motion on the agenda. I have a motion. Terry, second by Ann. All those in favor? Aye. Roll call. Here we are here. So I'm Chair Brad Mitchell. First Vice Chair Phil Como. Second Vice Chair Ann McShane. Councillor Gary Sullivan. Councillor Jerry Lowe. Peter Pappas. Alshea Elderberry. Terry Hutchinson. And we have a member missing who's not here this evening. I ask whether there's anybody that has a conflict of interest on any items tonight. There is none. So now I'll ask for approval of minutes. We have 5 different meetings for approval. Can I get a motion to accept those? Ann and Jerry. Any question? Any changes, modifications? All those in favor? Aye. Pass. Thank you. So, geez, we're cruising along here. So, item 5.1. 228 Germain Street. Just Thomas, let me introduce the. I'm just waiting for it to download. So the applicant is Bruce Wilkin Incorporated. The location is 228 Germain Street, PID 00003889. I gotta make that a little bit bigger. 3889, yep. Existing plan designation is medium to high density residential. Existing zoning is neighborhood community facility. Proposed zoning is urban center residential. Application type is text amendment rezoning. Community Planning Act authorizes the Planning Advisory Committee to give its views to Common Council concerning proposed amendments to the municipal plan and zoning bylaw. Common Council will consider the committee's recommendation at a public hearing on June 2nd, 2025. Thomas?
Thank you. Again, the applicant is seeking to rezone the subject property to allow for mixed-use residential unlike commercial uses. To achieve this, staff have amended the urban center residential zone to allow for light commercial uses and are adding the subject property to Schedule E to allow for continued community uses if desired. Subject property is located on the corner of Germain Street and Queen Street in the Uptown. The site, located within the Trinity Royal Heritage Conservation Area, parking exemption area, and an intensification area, contains a former place of worship with an auditorium addition. Since the church closed, it has been used for offices and community spaces by nonprofits, artists, and community groups. Surrounding area is mainly residential with commercial uses located on Charlotte Street and close to Queen Square and the new Central Peninsula School. This is a photo of the building in question. The site falls within the medium to high density designation, which supports higher density housing types such as apartments, condos, and townhomes. Compatible non-residential uses like parks, community facilities, retail, and home occupations are also permitted. Proposed rezoning from neighborhood community facility to urban center residential with the supporting text amendments aligns with municipal plan's intent to support diverse and integrated land uses. Proposed rezoning would support the conversion of the former church into a mixed residential, commercial, and potentially community use site, aligning with policy CF 39. And the rezoning and RC zone text amendment would allow for mixed-use development, specifically supporting the proposed uses of residences, offices, and community-oriented uses. The site is, again, currently zoned neighborhood community facility, which does allow for community uses like schools, arenas, and recreation centers. Surrounding area is primarily urban center residential, supporting various residential forms with a focus on higher density housing. Nearby commercial zones include mixed commercial and local commercial along Charlotte, Duke, and Queen Streets. The area also includes Queen Square, which is zone parked, and there is an integrated development zone, which is planned for mixed use, commercial, ground floor, and residential above. The proposed amendment to the RC zone introduces a targeted expansion of permitted uses to include light, ground floor commercial activities. This aligns the RC zone with the city's RM, mid-rise residential, and RH, high-rise residential zones, which already permit similar mixed-use opportunities. By allowing such uses as cafes, personal services, and art studios, subject to key conditions, these changes promote walkable, complete neighborhoods without compromising the residential character. Commercial uses will be restricted to the ground floor, must face the street, and are capped at 50% of the building's gross floor area to ensure that residential development remains the primary use within these neighborhoods. These changes directly support policy goals from both the municipal plan and the Central Peninsula Secondary Plan by encouraging adaptive reuse, supporting intensification, and fostering neighborhood vibrancy. Affecting the city's urban neighborhoods, this amendment enhances the RC zone's flexibility and responsiveness to community needs, allowing for more dynamic and inclusive urban development. While the amended RC zone would allow for the integration of light commercial uses, as previously discussed, in order to provide an ongoing ability to house the community uses, the subject property will be added to Schedule E, which is the exceptions list within the zoning bylaw. This would permit the subject property to also include community uses within the RC zone if so desired. Letters were mailed out to property owners within 100 meters of the subject site on May 7th. No letters were received as a presentation. The public notice was posted on the city's website on May 8th, and the public hearing is scheduled for June 2nd. Staff are recommending that Common Council adopt bylaw number CP 111198, which would amend the RC zone to allow light commercial uses such as cafes, personal services, and art studios, subject to conditions of use that would limit their overall size and location within a building. Staff are also recommending that Common Council adopt bylaw number CP 111194, which would rezone the subject property from neighborhood community facility to urban center residential, and add it to the exceptions list of Schedule E, which would allow the continued operation of community uses within the RC zone on the subject site. Thank you.
Many members have any questions for staff at this time? Thank you. At this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and speak. And I'll remind the applicant that they have 10 minutes for your presentation. Please state your name for the record, and if you're in favor of staff recommendation.
There we go. Okay. Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Wilkin, and I'm the owner of 228 Germain Street. Thank you for the planning department for a thorough report. I think it explains the zoning and what our intentions are. I thought what I might show you tonight was what our vision is for the building. The building is mostly vacant. The building that you see on the first slide is on the left is the Institute, or what they called it, the Baptist Church, and on the right is the sanctuary, which was the sanctuary for the Baptist Church built in 1968. The original church burnt down in the Great Fire, and a Gothic church was replaced in the late 1800s. And on the left, the Institute was part of that building, but in 1968, the church decided to demolish the Gothic church, which was attached to the left side of the building, and build the modern building that you see today, which was built in 1968. How do I advance it, Thomas? Sorry, thank you. So on the left is the Institute building that was built in the late 1800s, and it accommodated offices for the Baptist Church of today. So our proposal is to add housing to the buildings. So this floor plan is the first floor of the Institute building, and we're proposing in that building on the 3 floors, 14 suites. So this plan represents the first floor, the second floor, and the top floor. And there'd be a mix of 1 bedroom and bachelor apartments. The building next door, this is what we call the sanctuary, built in 1968. So this building creates a bit of a challenge because it's an odd building, and because it's a sanctuary, it doesn't really have any windows to the outside. So we gave a lot of thought what we might do to this building to add housing to it. So here's the site, and here we are proposing 10 suites and 1 office space in this building. So our idea to preserve this building and not remove it would be to use the volume of the space in the roof, that from ground floor to the top of the lantern, which is the skylight that's on top of the building, it's 40-odd feet. So there's quite a bit of room in the roof. When you look inside, you can see the amount of space there is in the building. So this is a rendering of what we're proposing. So we propose to keep integrity of the building and the brick exterior and the odd-shaped pyramid roof and the lantern, but add windows to the building and add dormers that would allow light for the apartments that we're proposing adding for that building. So that would be 10 suites in there. So on the left, upper left, you see the model of the renovating building showing the colored glass on the front, that's existing, and the lantern stays the same, and so does the roof shape, and basically the shape of the building stays the same. So the idea is to kind of gently insert apartments into this building and make it viable, because right now it's just a great big open space with no windows, and we can't really think of a use that would be appropriate for the building. Currently, we have 2 tenants, the Interaction Theater Group and the Chroma Group, and I'm not sure what their intentions are, but I don't think they will continue to stay in this building. So here are some elevations, just straight elevations. The the 4 elevations of the building looking straight on. So this is the inside of the sanctuary. So you can see from the ground floor to the top of the skylight, there's a huge amount of volume. And it's quite beautiful. There is massive glulam beams and cedar decking for the roofing. So the idea is to build apartments inside this building. And with the addition of the dormers and windows, they would have, of course, light and view to the outside. And you can see from the sections, you can see from the ground floor to the lanterns, we have 3 floors and 3 floors built inside this building, that there's quite a bit of room in there. So it's kind of a unique idea to take the existing building and use it for apartments and make use of all that volume of space that's in there. And that's my last slide. So if you have any questions, and this, of course, would conform to the RC zoning. That's why we're asking for the zoning, so we could accommodate a development like this in the building.
Do any members of committee have a question? Ann?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just have a couple questions. I caught how many, what the unit makeup was in the original building, but in the sanctuary, are they just still bachelors and singles as well, or?
They're kind of unique. There's a combination of 2 bachelors, and then because of the height of the building, some of the suites are 2 stories, like loft suites, and there's actually 1 suite that's got a direct staircase that goes up to where the lantern is, and there's a suite up there that's quite large, 1,200 square feet. So bachelor, 1 and 2 bedroom.
So some 2 bedrooms, good.
But we plan on partnering with CMHC and Build, I think it's called Build New Brunswick, and that would allow for affordable and accessible as well. So if we went that route and partnered with those funding groups, then we would have 7 affordable units in this configuration.
That'd be great. And you're just looking at 1 commercial tenant? I think you're allowed up to 50% of the footprint for commercial, but you're just doing the 1?
There's 1 space that's left internally in the sanctuary and has no windows, and it's kind of dead space. So we couldn't really think what to do with it other than have an office that could be a community office or a lawyer or accountant or just some small business that would like to be in a residential neighborhood. And it's not very big. It's only about 600 square feet, but I think we could find a tenant that would, or it could even be the building office or something like that. But our focus is residential.
Okay. Anyways, it's nice to see new life breathed into an old building, and I know that building has needed work for some time, so.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's a really solid building, and it suffers from deferred maintenance, but it's solid and it's in really good shape. And we've made an application to the Heritage Committee to take all the windows in the Institute building and replace the obscure glass with clear glass, and that's been approved, and thermopane. So we found a way to restore the original windows and make them energy efficient without taking them all out and putting replacement windows in.
Wonderful. And it sounds like your 2 current tenants are leaving, and so I'm hopeful that Chroma and Interaction have new homes that they'll be moving to, because
Well, I know that Chroma
Interaction has been so wonderful for the community, but I'm happy to see the work
I
you're
know,
doing.
and Chroma has found a new place to go.
Wonderful,
And they
yeah.
were in the basement, so it didn't have ground level access for their clientele. And Interaction, I think, got to the place where it was just not viable. It was not affordable for them. And back in the days when they had the whole building and energy costs were less, it probably worked for them. But now it's just not viable. And they have a new board, I know, that is struggling to put it together, but I don't think it's the right, I think they think this too, that it's not the right location for them.
Well, hopefully they find a new,
Right. And
Even better home,
But I don't
yeah.
know they haven't told me what their plans are. Chroma has.
thank you. It's an exciting project regardless. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lowe, did you have a question, or you? So I guess I just have one question. Did you envision doing both of these at the same time, or would you just do the sanctuary first, or the?
I think they need to be done together because we would have to upgrade all of the mechanical, like all the servicing, the electrical system, and that would involve the whole building, electrical panels for the whole building. So I don't see it being phased. I see it going as one project.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Sorry. In this section, do you think the top one can be apartment or something can be used? Because not sure with the fire safety regulation, is this will be acceptable or not? The top part of the building.
You're asking if it would meet fire code?
Yes, for the top part, I don't think there is not enough. If you are thinking to have it as apartment or something, there is no exits, there is no windows. How is there?
It does have
I
windows. I don't have a
answer that.
pointer, but
Jennifer can answer that if you.
Yeah.
it's-
Any project that's approved by PAC or is constructed in the city has to meet building code. So PAC does not need to, doesn't have the jurisdiction really to go into details about building code. That would be processed by our building inspectors through the permitting process.
yeah, like we would have to make sure that if the building was required to be sprinkled, we'd have to do that. We have to have egress for all the windows, and we would have to have multiple exits. Should people have to vacate for fire or something like that?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll now open the meeting to public. If there's anybody that would like to speak for or against this application, please come forward. State your name. The second time, if there's anybody from the public that would like to speak for or against this application, please step forward. Third and final time. At this time, I'm going to close. Does staff have, or does the committee have any other questions for the applicant? So we'll close off the public hearing, and I'll open it to any comments or recommendations. I guess second question. All those in favor? Against? Thank you. Pass. Thank you. That concludes 5.1. Applicant is Stantec Consulting Limited. Landowner is GOJI Properties, Inc. Try to say that 4 times. Location is 510 Boar's Head Road, PID 552-12914. Plan designation is stable residential. Existing zoning, neighborhood community facility. Proposed zoning is low-rise residential. Application type is rezoning and text amendment. The Community Planning Act authorizes the Planning Advisory Committee to give its views to Common Council concerning proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw. Common Council will consider the committee's recommendation at a public hearing Monday, June 2nd, 2025.
Thank you. Sorry. So the proposal before you is to rezone the site from neighborhood community facility to low-rise residential to legalize the existing 20-unit apartment. This would include a minor amendment to the RL zone standard for better clarity on the requirements for large-scale developments. This site was developed in 1995, and it was a secondary use to the senior care home that's just down the street. It has been since subdivided off and sold to a different owner. It was created to be independent senior apartments, which wasn't allowed use under that former institutional zoning. The apartment has since changed hands. It no longer complies with the neighborhood community facility use or definition of senior housing. The subject property is located at the intersection of Boar's Head and Woodward Avenue in Milledgeville. This area is characterized by having a mix of housing typologies as well as community uses such as the neighboring church and the 2 schools within close proximity. The property itself has an area of approximately 5,000 square meters and includes the existing 20-unit building as well as the original parking lot and newer overflow parking area. And the proposed rezoning would remove the current approval that's limiting the building to a senior housing development. In the above image, you can see this existing 20-unit apartment, which is about 1 story in height, has external entrances. The original parking lot and the newer overflow area also share an entrance off of Woodward Avenue, and we would be recommending some Section 59 conditions to see the applicant bring that overflow parking lot into compliance with the bylaw by paving and curbing it. The site is designated as stable residential in the municipal plan, and the most relevant municipal plan policy for this would be LU 86, which outlines that housing of almost every form and density can be found, and both the the existing neighborhood and and both the existing neighborhood context and compatibility with the municipal plan will determine suitability of new proposals. As this is an existing building that has been in place since the 1990s, it does conform to the neighborhood context. Other relevant policy includes LU 87, which intends that areas designated as stable residential will evolve over time, and that redeveloped land will reinforce the predominant community character and make positive contributions to the neighborhood. The site is currently zoned neighborhood community facility, which is designed to accommodate a range of community-oriented facilities, such as arenas, community centers, elementary schools, etc. As stated earlier, this building was developed as a complementary use to that senior care home when they were a cohesive development, and it was at the time an allowed use under that institutional zoning, though it no longer does comply with it. The low-rise residential zone is intended to accommodate a range of ground-oriented, lower-density residential development in the variety of housing forms, including one units, semi-detached, duplexes, townhouses, stacked townhouses, and small-scale apartments. The RL zone was also intended for large-scale developments that could meet the zone standards on larger lots. This project meets that intent by being under 3 stories, being ground-orientated, and meeting all the parking standards and is appropriate in the neighborhood context. So as said, we are recommending a couple Section 59 conditions, largely just around that overflow parking to bring it into compliance. And this would involve making them take out a change of use permit just to make sure everything is in compliance. And the second part of this proposal is a minor amendment to the additional zone standards for the RL zone. The intent of the former condition was to allow for this large-scale development that exceeded that 4 and 6 unit cap, if on appropriately sized lots. And then this just saves the developer from having to subdivide or create private streets when the lot is large enough. So this minor amendment just provides further clarity on what that size is. Letters were mailed out to the property owners within 100 meters of the subject site on May 5th. The public notice was posted on the city's website on May 9th, and the public hearing date is scheduled for June 2nd before council. As this proposal does conform to all the relevant policies, staff are recommending Common Council rezone the properties from CFN to RL with the appropriate Section 59 conditions and adopt the minor text amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members have questions? Ann?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just on the text amendment, not specific to the applicant. So we recently had a zoning bylaw amendment, and so R1 and R2 went to RL, I guess, by right. And kind of the understanding was around this 4 to 6 unit max. So this, while still limiting it to 3 stories, gives it more of an unlimited kind of unit count. Can you maybe just for the sake of everyone speak to why that isn't as scary as it sounds?
So when we did the RL amendment, we did leave space for larger scale developments that would still be under that 3 stories. They would have to have an independent exit from the exterior, and they would still have to meet every standard. So that's parking, that's amenity space, that's setbacks, and it is a calculation of lot size per unit. So that really restricts the actual number. It's not an endless number of units that can be put on. We also have conditions on lengths of the building, design, all of that do really restrict it. And in these cases, the lots are generally large enough that if subdivided and 4 units were put on every lot, would still meet the RL standards for the lower density development. So what this really is just clarifying that lot size that we accidentally missed during the amendments.
So no danger that there'll be giant big bricks put on multiple lots? Okay.
No, in this case, for example, this building could not exceed really the 20 units unless they could provide more parking, amenity space, all of that. So
There'd be design features that would kick in to
Yeah.
break that. Okay, thank you.
I'm ask the applicant to come forward on this presentation, please. I remind you that you have 10 minutes and ask you to state your name for the record and your staff recommendation.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. My name is Jamie Burke. I'm a senior associate and the Atlantic lead for urban planning with Stantec Consultant. No, Mr. Chairman, I'll be short and sweet. I guess we have nothing further to add, other than just to thank the city staff for moving this along so quickly. It seems like I think we just made the application in February, and here we are in May. So we're quite pleased with that timeline, and the attention that the application has received in light of the development activity that's happening in the city. So hats off to the city staff for moving this along.
Any committee members have questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll open the podium to anybody from the public that would like to speak for or against this application. Second call is anybody who would like to speak for or against this application. Last and final, is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this? Please come forward and state your name.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm not ready for this. I came for another one, but I didn't know about this one. But this one is just opposite to my house. I'm from 432 Woodward Avenue. So recently we are experiencing one that is 435 already going on. That's like 2 buildings and 30 units maybe. So it is just adjacent to this one, the 510, I think. So the concern I have raised for another one, that is for 421. So we came here as a group. I thought I don't need to talk anything. We have a representative here, but we didn't know about this 510. We didn't receive any mail or any correspondence regarding that. But I think for this, our house will be again in so many problems. The points I have already put in for 421 in my email. This is the same thing will happen.
So do you want to reply to that, Jennifer? You want me to? Or- Yeah. Yep.
So you were most likely located outside of the notification area for this property?
But this is the just opposite side of this 510. Yeah.
And with this one, they're not proposing to change the unit count.
Okay.
So what they're proposing is to essentially formalize what is already there.
Okay. So yeah.
There's no plans for any changes to this.
Okay. Yeah. But I just wanted to
Yeah.
say.
I appreciate you coming forward.
Yeah. Thank you.
Since it's right next door to what we're discussing next. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this? That was third and final. At this point, I will close public hearing. Do I have any, committee have any questions or discussion on this anymore? Do we bring the staff up, or do we have a move? Do I have a seconder? Seconder, Jerry? Any question? All those in favor? Against? Passed. Thank you. All right, item 5.3, which is 421. The applicant, Don Moore Surveys. Landowner is Woodward 421 Developments. The location is 421 Woodward Avenue. PID 55002109. Plan designation is stable residential. Existing zoning, low-rise residential. Proposed zoning, mid-rise residential. Application type is rezoning. The Community Planning Act authorizes the Planning Advisory Committee to give its views to Common Council concerning proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw. Common Council will consider the committee's recommendation at a public hearing on Monday, June 2nd. I'm going to just read the executive summary if you don't mind. The applicant is applying to rezone 421 Woodward Avenue from low-rise residential to mid-rise residential to permit the development of 2 multi-unit residential buildings with associated parking, access, and landscaping. Approval of the application is recommended by staff. Thank you. Please.
Thank you. So as said, the proposal is to rezone the site from low-rise residential to mid-rise residential for the development of 2 84-unit apartments. This would include all the required parking, landscaping, amenity, and proper access. The subject property is located in the Milledgeville neighborhood with frontage on both Boar's Head Road and Woodward Avenue. This area is again characterized by a mix of housing typologies from low-rise single-family to the high-rise Brentwood Towers, as well as community uses such as that neighboring church and the 2 schools. The property itself has approximately 16,355 square meters, and it would be accessed off of the lower east end of Boar's Head Road. In 1986 to about 1989, a variety of applications to develop this came in, mostly for semi-detached homes. The applicant did end up withdrawing those applications after council recommended conditions about access that they could not meet. And then the lot was never developed and we saw no further applications. In the above image, you can see the frontage along Boar's Head Road. The first larger image is kind of where the access would be, just beside to the left of that white van. As you can see that there is a large amount of trees and rock on this site, so there is some limitations in the access and design. The site is designated as stable residential in the municipal plan, which supports this proposal as it's on municipal services and has the potential to accommodate additional development. The most relevant policy is LU 86, which outlines that housing of every form and density can be found and that the existing neighborhood context and compatibility will determine suitability of new proposals. The proposed apartment buildings do meet that intent by respecting the surrounding density and demonstrate consistency with the municipal plan's broader goals related to housing choice and urban form. Other relevant policies are LU 87, which intends that areas designated stable residential will evolve over time. The design and scale of the apartment building does complement the existing scale and density of the neighborhood, and it also makes a positive contribution to the neighborhood by providing another type of housing. The site is zoned low-rise residential, which is intended to accommodate that range of ground-orientated, lower density residential development, generally single-family homes, semi-detached townhouses, etc. The mid-rise zone is intended to accommodate a range of mid-rise and medium-density residential developments in the form of townhouses, multiple dwelling units, and apartments. And there is a maximum height of 6 stories in the RM zone. There are also requirements for landscaping between mid-rise developments and low-rise neighbors, so they would have to create some landscaping buffer between themselves and those low-rise adjacent properties. Letters were mailed out to the property owners within 100 meters of the subject site on May 5th. The public notice was posted on the city website on May 9th. The applicant did indicate they went door to door to talk to some neighbors in the area, and we have received 6 letters as of this presentation, 5 in opposition and 1 was neutral. The public hearing date is scheduled for June 2nd before Common Council. At this time, staff is recommending that council rezone the property from RL to RM as it does align with all relevant policy. Thank you.
May members have any questions for staff at this time? I'm sure we'll have you back later, but thank you. At this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward, please. Remind you that you have 10 minutes. And if you've read staff recommendation, if you're in agreement with it.
Andrew Toole, Donmore Surveys and Engineering. We have read staff recommendation or in agreement with it. This development is for, as Eva pointed out, she did a great job, for 2 mid-rise residential buildings on this fairly large site. The architect, the owner, is also an architect from BC, and he's put a lot of thought in how this is to be developed, where the buildings are to respect the neighbors. We went door to door with the same presentation in late February and heard no comments. Since then, 6 letters have come in right before this meeting. So I'll just try and talk quickly about those points that are in the meeting, or in the letters. There's traffic is mentioned quite a few times. We have a traffic study that was submitted that would indicate that there's capacity on Boar's Head Road. Boar's Head Road is the right spot for this development. We've purposely not made connections to Woodward Avenue. And one of the questions was, what's the future for that area over by Woodward? There's no future for the connection to Woodward Avenue. There's 2 buildings. They're both accessed from Boar's Head Road. It talks about infrastructure and the road and all that. And like we've done the studies, the capacity is there. There's a bunch of things about like property values, noise, construction, and I don't think there's a lot that we can say about that. That comes with construction, no matter what type of construction is. It takes effort to build stuff. 1 or 2 letters talk about shadows and overlooking the properties. The buildings have purposely been situated to be away from the neighbors, especially away from the houses. There's fairly heavy vegetation and landscaping, as Eva mentioned, that's going to be put in to buffer the driveway, to buffer the buildings. The buildings are actually quite far from any neighboring houses. So like if there's any questions, we'll gladly answer them, but we feel this is the right thing in the right spot, and the architect's actually done a fairly good job of working with us to have a good development this time.
Any members have any questions?
Yeah, can you tell me Was it owned in 86 and 88 by the same owner?
No, this owner bought it in either 22 or 23. I want to say 23, because we haven't worked on it very long.
Ann?
Oh, thanks, Mr. Chair. I like the step-down density with the townhouses around it, so it gives a bit of a buffer in density levels. One question was just from Mr. Doug Finley, and he's asked a question about, there's a blind knoll by the entrance, and asked if that entrance can be moved, so I don't know if you saw that in the letter.
So this is actually the right spot for the entrance.
Okay.
We're at the top of what could potentially be a blind knoll. We did a
Yeah.
fair bit of effort in locating the entrance in the right spot.
Cool, so that one's all good. Excellent. And, and just for peace of mind of people, blasting. There's questions about blasting. I know that's provincially regulated, but if you
Provincially
could.
regulated, it would cost too much just to get started, so they're not going to blast.
Excellent.
And we have,
Yeah.
so the reason this took, so I'm going to say he bought it in 23 and came to us. The reason it took so long to get here is we've almost completed design, and he's run his numbers on almost total fill.
Oh,
So
wow.
he has, the only thing he's hammering is the trenches to bring the services in, and under two corners of a building, there's like big knobs that just have to come off. But most everything else is going to be on fill, imported fill, rather than days and days and days of tick, tick, tick,
Excellent.
tick,
No,
tick.
that's great. That should help us alleviate some fears in the neighborhood. And I saw it said something like family, there was something like an allusion to family. So does that mean there's some larger size units in this as well?
There's 1, 2, and 3. 50% of them are
Perfect.
1 and 3.
Especially where it's proximate to a school, so, excellent. That should cut
Yeah.
down the traffic, because they'll be walking right there. Yeah, perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to touch on the noise, I'm a shift worker, so I sleep during the day and I sleep during the night. I guess my only question is, they're not going to do construction at night. Is that
Like,
Correct.
it's like every other construction site. Like
Right.
this, the site next door is under construction right now. And you see them being built everywhere. You can't find people that are going to work at night on a
No,
construction site.
I understand that. I just want to make sure that they're not pounding at 2:00 in the morning. Okay, thank you.
And the city's noise bylaws would
Sure.
prevent that.
Yeah.
In regard, is the plan to build one building, fill it, and then build a second building?
Yeah.
So, and then the regards to the parking lot, are you building the whole parking lot, or are you just building half of that parking lot and then build the second parking lot?
So it's about 2/3. I don't know if you noticed, but there's actually a grade differential in that big parking lot.
Right.
So the top shelf would be built, and then later that bottom shelf would be built with the second building.
Okay.
So there's more parking than you need being built in the first one, because it makes sense to do it all right then.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee members have questions?
Just curiosity. Andrew, where is it being serviced from? Woodward?
Boar's Head.
Boar's Head.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant at this time? Thank you.
Thank you.
May have you back after. At this time, open the meeting to the public. If you'd like to speak, please come forward, state your name, and I'll remind everybody of the 10 minutes. So please come forward, and I will remind everybody that we have read the letters that were sent.
So I have a PowerPoint. Can you show me? Is that okay? I just plug my USB. Okay.
No.
No?
Yeah. We're not allowed to.
Yeah, we can't accept PowerPoints.
Yeah.
No, because if it gets
Because I
into
have
the
some
system.
pictures
Yeah.
that actually, with the screenshots that probably I can show you like more,
Yeah,
it's better way. So-
unfortunately, we cannot plug in external devices for cyber safety.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
understand.
think everyone here probably knows why, so.
I don't have the updated version.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, would somebody else like to come forward then in the meantime and speak?
Good evening. My name is Danny Kay, and I live at 417 Woodward Avenue. I have a couple of questions about the report itself. Building height. They talk about building in the report. It says the applicant is proposing to rezone the subject site from low-rise residential to mid-rise residential to facilitate the development of two 6-story multi-unit residential buildings. Then later on, if you look at submission 1 in the appendix, which is the site plan and renderings, the document, it looks like it's a property description. Page 102 of the report, the agenda page 102, or document page 06. So section E of that document indicates the permitted height to be 14 meters. However, the proposed 6 stories looks like it's going to be approximately 18 meters, which would exceed, I believe, the maximum height for mid-rise residential zoning. Do you agree?
On some of these
Yeah.
things.
The only other thing I'd like to bring attention to on that particular document is Part B, titled zoning, current R1 residential, proposed zoning RH, high-rise residential. They probably, I'm thinking they probably picked high-rise residential, thinking that the maximum building height exceeded the RM classification, but the applicant can answer that question for me. Second point I'd like to talk about is the Woodward Avenue frontage and lot 25-3. So if you look at attachment 1 in the appendix, which is site photography, and I'll call it photo number 3, it's titled Subject Site Frontage from Woodward. It says it would remain unchanged, no access. Is that confirmed? Because the next thing I want to look at is under the appendix is map number 3, zoning. If you look at that map number 3, it indicates that the entire site is zoned RL, which would be PID 55002109 or 421 Woodward Avenue. However, when I refer to the rezoning application notification letter that was sent to me, it says the applicant is seeking to rezone a portion of the site. So are we rezoning the entire site or just a portion of it? And if it's a portion, what portion is it? Further along, if you look at the drawing that was attached to the rezoning application notification letter, it indicates phase 1 and phase 2. I guess it would be drawing number 24316. It's titled phase 1. It only indicates what would you call it? A subdivision of 2 parcels, phase 1 and phase 2. However, if you refer to the submission 1 in the appendix, site plan and renderings, which would be page 1 of the page 100, I'm sorry, of the agenda, you'll see that the subject property is subdivided into 3 lots. So what is the purpose of lot number 3, which has frontage on Woodward Avenue, which apparently is not supposed to be used for access? So what is the purpose of lot number 3, or 25-3, I should say? And furthermore, page 103 of the agenda, of the report, also indicates lot 25-1, 25-2, and 25-3. However, over in the legend, it says the purpose of the plan was to create lot 25-1 and 25-2. So I don't know what this lot 25-3 is meant to be. So lot 25-3 is of special interest to me, of course, because I'm at 417 Woodward Avenue, which is directly adjacent to that particular parcel. The only other thing I wanted to speak about, but I think it's already been addressed, the only other major concern I have is if the development goes ahead, I had major concern about site development, blasting versus rock breaking, because a portion of my foundation at 417 Woodward Avenue sits directly on top of a rock ledge, would be the same rock as the development's going to be sitting on. So I was worried about shock waves from blasting, compromising my foundation, but I believe that's already been addressed by the applicant, rock blasting, rock smashing is the preferred method of site development. Okay, what other comments did I have? Oh, yes. In the, let me see, in the report, let me see, page 3 of the report, under the title Municipal Plan and Rezoning, it says the rezoning application for the 2 mid-rise buildings is appropriate for the character of the neighborhood and complements the existing range of housing topologies. We would argue the development of 2 6-story multi-unit residential buildings certainly is not appropriate for this neighborhood containing a significant blend of family and townhouse dwellings such as currently exists along Woodward Avenue and Boar's Head Road. The huge footprint this development will leave certainly does not complement the existing range of single-family residential dwellings in the immediate neighborhood. And one more comment. In the report on page 3 under the zoning title, it says the proposed rezoning of the site to RM is compatible with the existing development pattern, which is predominantly multi-unit residential development. So I would mention that of all of the multi-unit residential units in the neighborhood, which would be the Killam apartment buildings, the Charlie Grace Terrace apartment buildings, and also Chateau de Champlain Seniors Home, none of those buildings are more than 3 stories high. And the profile of 2 6-story buildings would just overwhelm the existing profile of the neighborhood. It's just a huge footprint. 2 6-story buildings just doesn't fit in the neighborhood. And yes, we do have 1 high-rise building in the neighborhood, which is Brentwood Towers, but that's an anomaly in the neighborhood. It's not a normal feature. And let's see, what else did I have to mention? Propose. That's pretty much covers everything I wanted to ask or comment on.
Ask the applicant some of those things that you and city staff
Yeah,
on some of those
the
items.
subdivision of the parcel of land,
Yeah.
where the applicant says they want to rezone a portion of the site.
Yes.
So what is the purpose of subdividing for 3 lots?
Thank you very much for your input. Is there anybody else who would like to speak for or against this application? Sorry, Ann has a question. Sorry, that's my bad.
It's okay. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Question for me?
Yeah,
Yes.
please, if you don't mind. I'm not sure if it was your letter, because I kind of like, I snapshotted a pic because I loved the paragraph so much, but you spoke a bit too about the character. But in this letter, there was a paragraph about at some point, the cumulative effects of these changes need to be acknowledged as a transformation and not just growth. And it was food for thought for me, and you talked about the changing character, and it's something that we debate, since I sat on the plan committee and we started talking about what character is and isn't. All neighborhoods are allowed to have different demographics live there. There's cradle to grave opportunities should be provided in terms of housing in every neighborhood that we have. It can look like different types of density to make up with a complete character of any neighborhood. But what character are you worried about in terms of what the community will transform to? Like, what is the fear?
Well, just based on the comments that the applicant made about there's going to be a lot of fill brought in, so I don't see them digging a big deep hole, even though there's underground parking apparently associated with the 2 buildings. But it sounds like they're going to build up. Well, if you drive along Boar's Head Road and look at the height of the rock ledge that's already there, and they're going to build on top of that, it's just like
So it's aesthetics. Is it aesthetics?
2 6-story, a 2-headed monster. 6-story, 2-headed monster. That's what it's going to look like in the neighborhood. It's just going to overwhelm everything around it.
But it's not necessarily the shading or the shadows, it's just the look of it.
Like if the profile was smaller, like 3 stories instead of 6, it would probably fit better in the neighborhood than
Yeah.
like 6 stories is just.
I know, and I know emotionally, like I feel the same way when I see this, but I'm like, I lived in one of the Woodward apartment buildings, I remember years ago, and Brentwood was there. I don't think anybody probably would have been excited about that. Now people, all kinds of people live there that probably didn't want it there in the first place. So anyway, I always ask that question because I'm so curious what that means to different people, but I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
Oh, okay, good.
Thank
Anything
you.
else?
And if you could state your name, please.
Hi there, my name's Nesa Matthews. I live at 420 Woodward. So when you're looking at the map, the little tiny property that's left in amongst all of surrounded, that's us. And we just bought the place at the end of January. So we have been, a week after we took possession is when the chainsaws came in, took down the trees, and we've had jackhammers ever since. And then we found out about this a couple of days ago, which has been great to find out. So we are new to the neighborhood, so I can't speak to the context of the feel of the neighborhood. And we're also relatively new to St. John, so I've lived in other cities that have definitely got mixed-use developments, have had a combination of houses and apartments. But the one thing that seems to be consistent in any city is the infrastructure supporting around the apartments. So I don't know enough to talk about the height of the buildings and everything going in. My concern is that it seems to be a lot of units that are coming in with no plan for people to live in it. Like, it's great to say that we're going to put in some landscaping around it and we're putting in family units. Is there going to be a playground? Is there going to be a place for them to play? Is there going to be something for them to do? Because it's great that we're leaving some of the woods around, but if the woods are just going to turn into the place that the teenagers are going to go and drink and throw their garbage because they have nowhere else to go, then it's going to suddenly change the feel of the neighborhood. That's what I'm more worried about. Because I've been in places in Calgary where we've had great mixed use neighborhoods, but they've even noticed that if we don't have people and eyes on the street, it does quickly turn to crime. And it does quickly turn to outlying access. Like, it's great to say, oh, there's FlexBus service access there, so we don't need to worry about it. This is a lot more units coming in that suddenly we're planning for. And I look at the floor place and I go, okay, so there's underground parking, and then there's the outside parking lot. There's a lot of space for cars to live in this development. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of space for people to get out and live. And that's really a big concern that I'm looking at, saying, why wouldn't we say, okay, it's great to put in these units, but the ground floor is going to have a coffee shop and a daycare, or, you know, something along those lines, to actually look at what is the neighborhood supposed to be. Is it just two great houses that are going up and we're slapping it in and people park their cars and they go home and they leave? Or are we looking at people that are actually going to be living here? Like, yes, it's apartment condos, but someone might be spending their life raising their kids, all of these things. And it doesn't seem like there's been a lot of recognition as to what's going to happen to the neighborhood, to suddenly throw a whole bunch of people and families and in whatever terms they're going to be in. But okay, it's great to say we don't need a sidewalk, we'll just put in a crosswalk so they can walk over there. Does that make sense long term? Like, does it really, if you're looking at going, okay, we're planning on putting more housing around it and we're giving this access space that there's going to be houses going in here and all that, can the schools accommodate it? Because the schools are pretty full right now. So it's great to say, oh, it's fine, there's schools in the neighborhood, but can they get to the school? Are we putting in walking paths so they can easily access to get up to it? Or are we assuming that they're going to take the proper sidewalks and go all the way around the long way? That's not what people do. People find shortcuts. People find things along those lines. So I would just suggest that if we're looking at putting a huge number of new people into the neighborhood, which is great, people need places to live, and so long as it can work for everyone, could we actually be looking towards some accommodations, saying that's great, but could you put in a playground? Could you put in a park? Could you put in some space so that you're saying, it's great that we have all of these families moving in here. Are they going to stay in their apartment all day? Or are they going to be able to come outside and they can be able to do things? And if they are coming outside, are they going to end up in my backyard? Are they going to end up leaving garbage in everybody else's yard? Because that's just sort of the path that they're going through. It's not even an objection to where it's sitting and how it's going to be looking forward. And yes, I do have concerns. We have a glass sunroom on the back of our house. So if there's suddenly an apartment building that is staring down into it, that would be a problem. I hope that is being looked at for the height differences and where it's going to hit all those yards. But mine's just more saying, if we're looking for the long-term thriving ability of this neighborhood, what are we giving it to make it a good place to live besides the fact that there's going to be housing available? Because it works great in the short term, but then give it 5 years and maybe they don't keep up the landscaping quite as much. Maybe, you know, the rent starts going down. Maybe it does start changing the feel of the neighborhood. If we don't start planning now for the fact that we expect a certain amount of infrastructure and living in the neighborhood to go into it, it will change the tone of the neighborhood and it will change the feel of the neighborhood because we're not thinking ahead with that step. And I mean, on a whole, St. John doesn't have a lot of public living space for a lot of people, but I think if we're looking towards the future and we're looking towards other cities that have really worked a mixed unit living development space, part of that is making it so it's a good place to live and it's some place that everybody wants to go. You've got a transit hub or you've got a school hub that's going, like those kind of things are important, and access between those 2 points is important. If we're just planning it for a whole bunch of cars to come in to drive him and drive home, I don't really want that in my neighborhood. I want people that are going to be coming in and planning their lives to be living there. And that's part of making it a good place to live. So I would just hope that there'd be some accommodations and maybe some asks made of the people that are planning the building and all of that to perhaps say, yes, it's great that you're going to make a lot of money selling all these buildings and renting them all out. In exchange, could you make it a nice place to live for everyone in the neighborhood? That's my concern.
Thank you. And you have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. First off, I loved every single thing that you just said. I did. I loved it all. Yeah, I have a friend, Brian Wilson, he's always saying density without services is just overcrowding.
Yeah, like
Right,
it's,
so,
you want to
yes,
live there. You want to
yes.
like living there.
Right. Is there anything, I have a question that I'll ask staff after on this, because I love this whole that's the kind of line of talk that makes a lot of sense to me in terms of, your ratio to amenities and
Yeah.
services. Are there things that your neighborhood and you are looking for in that you feel that is deficient, that this would hurt more or could be helped better?
I have young kids, so I immediately jump to playground space. It's great that there's 2 schools nearby. I don't know if you've seen the playground spaces at the schools nearby. They're not good. Milledgeville North is pretty sad. And it's way up the high hill to get there at the same time too. And then Sam to Sham, it's kind of a little bit off in its own space. There's no public space really at all. I mean, there's some green sections that have a sign that says it's a park, but it just seems to be a spot for grass. It doesn't seem like
Intentionally planned space for people?
And honestly, and even trying to use the Flex bus service, you have to book it a day in advance and do all this weirdness. Like it's not a good go-to transit plan unless you're really planning ahead for it. And you would hope and think that maybe if we're looking at putting all of these additional units in with the school and everything else being available, that maybe some plan and some
Be
thought
up the
would go
list
into it.
for,
Well, just
frequency.
to look at
Yeah.
the possibilities of how to make it more accessible and more useful.
Yeah, no, I super appreciated everything you just said. And I'll have follow-up questions for staff. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against this application?
Hi, my name is Felix Burt. I live at 381 Woodward Avenue. I've been there for the last 29 and a half years. I'm a retired school teacher from Sam to Sham, and now I sell real estate for the last 17 years. One of my big concerns, certainly, for development, but it was a quiet neighborhood. When I see, like he says, 2 6-story building in the backyard, that's, I got to prove here that selling real estate can go up, it can go down. If I told you tomorrow that all of your properties go down by about 25%, I don't think you'd be too happy. I got to prove here, the last one that just sold on Boar's Head, okay, right, Boar's Head, it went under assessed value. It was first started to be listed at $459 and it sold in the 380s while everything else is going up. So I'm concerned about the size. I'm concerned about the noise that we're going to have. We are right now putting up with noise because if you drive down there, they're building down there and it's all rock and it's been going all, you go outside, you can't enjoy your backyard. Probably we'll have that for the next few years with that development. 6 stories to me is overwhelming as far as I'm concerned, too much. It's, I don't want to repeat stuff that's going to be said or anything like that, but that's my main concern. And like I said, I know a lot of people, neighbors and everything, we talked about it, they all feel the same. I mean, you know, it was a quiet neighborhood. It's a busy neighborhood because of 2 schools. And, you know, with that, I think it's overbuilt as far as I'm concerned. Thank you. Any question?
Questions? Thank you. Anybody else have? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good evening. It's my honor to be here, and I really appreciate this opportunity for me to express my concern about this proposal. My name is Gabriel. I'm living in that neighborhood around like 10 years already. So today I'm here. Just want to express my concern about the safety. So let me show you. Is there any way? Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, so actually, so my concern is actually the proposed zone is actually very unique because it's very close to the schools, right? There's 2 schools close by, and actually, though I live there, I saw like kids, they walk or like biking like on the street like every day, and also sometimes they, you know, that they are kids, right? So they don't want to go on the sidewalks, but they just want to walk or like a bike on the road itself. So that's been said, like the increased density will clearly raise the traffic value, which will cause more issues for those kids. And also, there's another thing that I think I'm not sure anybody mentioned, but actually there's blind spots that near the entry of the proposed building that actually that I heard from the nearby neighborhoods that they said like especially during the winter time, if there's a snow, it's really hard for the drivers to notice that spots. So there may have some increased accidents, right? So and also there's no sidewalks on the proposed building that side, and also because there's all hard rocks. So I doubt in future there will be anything that actually will be able to build on there. So that means like if you have 170 units, that I think probably going to be hundreds of people, right? So they have to go their walk or like go school every day, cross that busy street, so day and night. So I mean that's going to cause some safety concerns as well. Like you can see that actually on the proposed picture, there's no sidewalk because there's all rocks. They can't build that, so that's the reason why. And another thing that I was concerned is because like my wife also worked nearby those senior homes, and so we would actually talk with those seniors, and there is also concern for them as well, because if you check the location of this proposed building, it's very close to those senior homes. And you just can see like it's so close, just actually between those senior homes, right? So what happened is actually there's also all hard rocks, right? So that means like also there's a planned underground like a parking. So that way expecting like probably months or like even a year, like a unstoppable, just like a rock breaking. So I actually did some researching that actually from the Harvard Healthy that actually there's a link there. So it's actually mentioned like the noise population that can trigger the heart attacks. So there are even data that actually they have like 500 people like for the researching. They're saying like that for the, I'm sorry, pardon my English, but 5 decibel that increase for the noise level that's linked to 34% of rise in the heart attack. So I put the jackhammer actually is the road breaker. So the road breaker actually the noise can produce. The level is actually 120 to 130 decibels. So we can consider that's the risk. And also another issue actually is there's actually war maintenance. So that actually they may probably have some PTSD So every time, like when they hear, when they hear those like noise, that's it's going to trigger some issues, right? Like serious like health issues. Another thing is actually the rock breaking actually start at 7 o'clock a.m. each day, right? And also the majority of like from the research saying the majority of the heart attack usually happens during the hour in the morning at 8 or 9, which means like 1 hour after, and then there's highly the most dangerous time for those seniors, and that's actually they start the breaking. So and also make that worse is the 8 and 9. That's also the most busy time of the day on those streets, that the traffic, right? Because I can show you here is that I took the screenshot from the Google Map. That's actually yesterday, 8 a.m. So we can see that that's the Woodward Avenue, and that's I think the University Avenue. That's to the hospital. So you can see that actually the red, that means actually the car is jammed there, right? So that's 8 a.m., right? So let's see what happened next. So that's 8:40, and you see the Boar's Head Road and the Woodward Avenue, they all jammed, right? So they all red. And the yellow, they all jammed there already. And also, that's 8:53. You see there, the Woodward Avenue and the University Avenue is still also jammed. That's 1 hour already, which is the dangerous time for those seniors that they may have a heart attack or like. So traffic plus the rock breaking, that contributes them to their healthy concerns. They consider like how close the proposed location that close to the senior homes. So anyway, that's another actually. So basically, I'm saying this. My point is just like because this is really unique location, and consider the seniors, like our senior really rely on like a quiet like environment, and also like the safety traffic and the low traffic volume. So that is good for the community, their seniors healthy. So I just think like the infrastructure is just not really ready for this large this large of the population for this area. And I think to maintain the current low-rise zoning is to protect our seniors, our children, also safeguard the long term of our community. That's just my point. And thank you for giving me the chance.
Presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against this application?
The arrow when you want to move to the next one.
Beg your pardon?
When you want to move to the next image, you can just hit.
The right arrow? Okay, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sandy Robertson, and I've lived at 409 Woodward Avenue for 38 years. And I know, I think Peter's very familiar with that property that he's looked on that right there is, that's a 4-story building behind Tudor Lane, who I think, Peter, you're very familiar with that property as you built it. And I had a conversation with the lady from the Kennebec Manor Nursing Home and today, actually, and she was planning on coming here, and she sent me a message that she couldn't make it. And this is what she sent to me, and she asked me if I could. To whom it may concern, my apologies for not being able to be present this evening at the Planning Advisory Committee meeting scheduled for 6 p.m. at City Hall regarding rezoning of 421 Woodward Avenue. I received a letter this morning from the City of St. John making me aware of the meeting. The thought of having another construction project so close to Kennebec Manor Nursing Home causes me great concern. Kennebec Manor is located at 475 Woodward Avenue and is home to 70 people. Until recently, our home was situated in a beautiful part of Milledgeville with many trees and wildlife on one side of our property. The current construction site has removed all of those trees and has involved the breaking of rock with machinery starting at 7:30 a.m. every day. This breaking of rock sounds like drilling or machine guns and is incredibly loud. I invite anyone to come and set up their office for the day in our home and hear how loud this is in our home. It is very hard to imagine. Starting this early in the day wakes many residents before they would normally wake up. The constant noise throughout the day prevents them from having a restful afternoon nap as well. We have many complaints from them about the noise, and it is hard to explain to our residents who have a diagnosis of dementia. Lack of sleep impacts our residents' health greatly. We are seeing poor appetites, increased behaviors, for lack of a better term, drowsiness, and some residents not participating in social events due to being too tired. We have one resident, Heather, who lived through the war. This resident has dementia and is reliving the war every day, thinking she is being bombed. It is heartbreaking to hear and see her fear. But there is no reassuring her that this is her reality, as this is her reality. There's no area in our home that you can't hear this noise and hammering. She can't escape it. This is only one example of the people this will affect. To think that we could be living through more of this same construction and noise for the next year or more is very unsettling for our home and residents, not to mention the impact it has had on staff who work there and listen to it for 8 hours a day, 8 hours plus a day, while they try to work in already challenging conditions. We ask that you strongly consider the location for these buildings and ask yourself if they are suitable for this area in the street. There are other lots nearby that would impact fewer people and still benefit the city and people who call St. John home. I would be happy to talk further with anyone who wants to discuss and welcome you to visit Kennebec to see and hear firsthand what our residents are living through right now. Thank you for your time and listening to my initial concerns and thoughts. We look forward to having further dialogue with you in consideration of this matter. Sincerely, Tammy Moss, CEO of Kingsway Life Center Alliance. Some of you are familiar with some of the projects that have already happened. Now, one of them is the Charlie Bird built an apartment building on the corner of Daniel Avenue and Woodward and Village Avenue. And they broke rock for 2 years. I think I've got some residents in Millersville here and on the committee who know that's the case. And that was a constant hammering and beating away with the rock hammers. And this one has started the first of the year, and here we are into May, towards the end of May, and it's going on every day. They've cleaned up every tree on the site is gone on the existing site, which is the adjoining property to it. Now, how would you like to have a 6-story building built in your adjoining lot to your house? And this is my house. This will be in my backyard, and there'll be a 6-story house blocking, or 6-story building blocking the sun. And what I don't understand is why the city didn't go and look at, if they had properties they wanted to sell, they've got the one up on McIntosh Street, right by the old NB housing properties or apartments. Why wouldn't they talk to them about that? Why do they have to come down on a solid conglomerate rock site that's going to take rock breaking for probably 2 years? That rock is absolutely the hardest rock in the area. It's the only place like it is Rockingham and outside of Bedford, Nova Scotia that I'm familiar with. And I've been in this business, in the business of construction for most of my life. But I implore you to think of alternate sites. The Harrington Lake site, that's been 11 years now, nothing's happened on it. Why wouldn't they think about putting something on there? Camille Debley wants to sell property up on his Cambridge Estates. Out of sight, out of mind. It's not going to bother anybody up there. That's going to bother a lot of people. It's on a blind knoll, as has been pointed out. No one, incidentally, contacted me or my neighbors to suggest that somebody came around and talked to anybody. Sorry, but I know that my neighbors did not, or me, never got addressed by anybody from Don Moore Surveys about this. And the property, it changed hands according to Service New Brunswick in October of 2024, not 2023.
Anyway, there are other sites in the area. It's a wrong project for the site that it's on. I mean, it was R1 zoned in January. All of a sudden, the city rezones and absorbs all these other zones into this new zone, but it still isn't big enough. So they've got to go to a high rise. And anyway, I just hope you'll give consideration to it. It is going to have a hell of an impact on the neighbors. The trees will be gone. There's no question about that. You can say what you want. If you're breaking rock, you got to take the trees away. And I've broken a lot of rock myself on my own property. So I know that to be the case. And you've got other alternative sites. And I can't understand. I think this has gone from somebody promoting this. I know there's a lot of federal funding available right now, but that federal funding isn't going to help me and make me very happy after 38 years of living in one spot to have a rock hammer beating away night and day. And, I'm not around here for that much longer. I don't want to listen to it. And think about it for yourself. Would you want to listen to it? Anyway, I thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, I'd gladly answer them.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or opposed to this project? Please come forward, state your name.
Hello, everybody. This is Safayat, and I'm the resident of 432 Woodward Avenue. Thank you for this opportunity. I don't want to repeat all other things that my neighbors said. What I want to mention is we are already overburdened. We have in this area, we already have a senior care home. We have 2 schools. We have high-rise building. We have commercial storage. We have commercial buildings like Bell and Air Canada office. So, there are lots. Another multi-unit project. This will be too much. And the thing is, we heard about the road safety and everything. And my thing is, in the morning period, I wait from my driveway to the road. I wait almost 4 to 5 minutes to get into the road. These school buses, the number of parents that drop their kids to the school, and the pedestrians all together, it's already a lot of traffic. Another multi-unit projects that will make things worsen. And ongoing development in the 435 Woodward Avenue, it's a multi-unit project. It's already underway. It's ongoing, and it's the similar type of thing. Another project, it'll be too much for us. When we entered in this neighborhood and we saw, okay, it's single unit families, it's low-rise families and everything. We liked it. And nowadays, in front of me, the construction is going on. Behind me, there will be another one. We didn't thought experiencing this kind of things at all. Apart from the property values and everything, I don't want to repeat those sort of things, but I just want to mention the number of traffic on the road in the morning period. That shows the total picture. And if you just consider all other facilities that we have, like the commercial buildings, Air Canada office and Bell, and commercial storage and everything, this is already overburdened. I want you to consider this, and we are strongly opposing this new construction. Thank you.
Members have questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to come forward and speak? State your name, please.
I'm Scott Thompson. I live at 131 Marlin. And I won't repeat all the objections, and I did send in a letter. so I won't repeat that. I'd just like to ask a question. The developer said he did go around the neighborhood. Somebody mentioned that they never got contacted. I was never contacted, and I'm retired. I'm home most of the time. I'm just wondering if you have the 5 letters in opposition, 1 letter neutral. I'm wondering if you have the list of people he contacted and because he came to us and said, I contacted everybody in the neighborhood, some people in the neighborhood, I forget exactly what he said. I wonder if we have that list of people who are not opposed to this. Do you have that on record? Who he visited and who's not opposed to this in the neighborhood? How many people he visited? And their addresses? Do we have that? That's just my question. Thank you.
Is there anybody else from committee?
I did want to, I had the video of the hammer, and it's on the video there. If I could play that, is that okay?
What's it? Yeah, no,
Maybe our city staffer could play that.
No, we can't hook anything onto that city, any city laptop. She's trying to speak here, just hang on a second. What's your, yeah. She's coming up here to tell me what we can do or. Yeah. Oh, you can, no, it's the rocket. Yeah, but it's. So apparently, once we've spoken, because we haven't, but if somebody else wants to do that, like let somebody else come up and let's hear it's a rock hammer that we're gonna hear.
Could you do that for me? It's on that monitor right now. That's for the wrong guys.
All right, so it's the noise of the rock hammer, and I think we're pretty familiar.
It's real light.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against this application?
Do you want the sound of the jackhammer you're just saying?
Yeah.
Button on the laptop to play it. I have it on my phone. But you can go over and press the button. You can press the button. It's construction.
Yeah.
If you could state your name, please.
My name is Phil Andrews. I'm at 425 Woodward.
Thank you.
I just had a video of my son jumping on the trampoline out back. I'm right next door to it, yeah.
Sorry, I gotta wait for them to turn it on up there. Now watch it. There he is.
One second.
Yeah, I can hear it, but I can't. The volume on our TVs is down.
He's just jumping on the trampoline. It's construction. And we're right next to the manor.
It's coming out of his phone.
I can only imagine the people at the old age home.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you very much. I think we're familiar with what the rock hammer and it is noise. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on for or against this application? a second time. Is there anybody that would like to speak for or against this application? Final call. Is there anybody that would like to speak for this, on this application? Please come forward and state your name.
Hello, guys. My name is Wei. I live at 416 Woodward Avenue. And I don't see anybody come to my house door to door. And I only received the mail in my mailbox. So I know about this. And they pretty much covered everything I want to say. And I second about Nesta's opinion about the neighborhood. So I have a son. He's 12 years old. I don't know if you guys actually visit going to Milledgeville North over there. They don't have really anything for kids around that age. They go out, hang out. Sometimes they play ball hockey. Sometimes they just go on there walking on the street. And other than that, they're just sitting at home playing iPad all day. And being a father, I don't like that. I want them to be outside. But you going to the playground, which is Milledgeville North, they have a limited access. You can only go to front. There are 2 broken basketball with no nets. And their play yard, their play yard is cracked. And you go to French school, Yosemite Champlain, they're not okay for Lucas's age. They're pretty much like, like kindergartens, 5 or 6. All they have around there is a whole bunch of friends and an empty soccer field. So imagine if there's another 180 units comes in, where are they gonna play? Like we don't need another building. We need some place to play with for the kids. And another thing is, I don't know if anybody mentioned about the winter time. Like my house, 416 Wood Avenue, is at the intersection of Woodward Avenue and Marlin Drive. And every winter, when the city plow truck goes down from Marlin Street, the Woodward is completely destroyed. But the kid still has to go to school. There's no sidewalk on this side. There's no sidewalk on this side. They're just walking on the middle of the street during the winter. And that's a very personal thought. Thanks.
And I guess on the third call, is there anybody else that would like to speak on this matter? Please come forward and state your name.
Hello everyone, my name is Moin. I'm just living in 382 Borset Road, which is just adjacent to the new rezoning, proposed rezoning area, 421 Woodward Avenue. So I don't want to repeat whatever the issues, common issues have already been mentioned. So I just want to highlight one of the particular personal medical issue that we will be suffering most. So that is my spouse has had an motor vehicle accident just a couple of months back, and she got a concussion out of that. And due to that, she cannot handle any sort of noise. So currently, she is suffering from the existing construction noise, and with this new construction, obviously she is going to suffer a lot, and this is going to severely affect her mental and physical health conditions. So that is what I'd like to highlight and stress in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll ask a third time, is there anybody that would like to speak for or against this proposal? At this time, we probably will bring the applicant forward. We've got some questions, I think, for them. You've heard a number of comments and questions. I've written them down as well, but if you'd like to start, then go ahead.
I took some notes. How about if I go through what I got and then you tell me what I missed? So in no particular order, several people asked who we visited. So Boar's Head Road, on one day in February, Isaiah, who works with me, went out, banged on every door he came to on Boar's Head Road and did a couple on Woodward, but obviously in talking with him right now, we missed a few. So we definitely should have banged on more. Starting back at the top, building height 14 to 18 meters, and what's that about? Probably should leave it to staff, but generally a 6-story building fits in RM zone. The reference to RH, I have no idea where that came from. We're definitely RM. Woodward access and use Y3 lots, primarily that's to disconnect the two buildings from Woodward. His intention was always to create a single-family lot there, leave it a single family, so it's disconnected, it's separate from this development. RL, RM portion are all of the site. So lots 1 and 2 are what are being, if you looked at the subdivision plan, lots 1 and 2 are what are going to RM. The remainder would stay as RL, which is its current zoning, to stay the way it is. There was mention of blasting. We've already talked about blasting. It'll be hammering. Height relative to Boar's Head Road and the fact that it's fill. One thing I think that's important to, if you actually walked on the site, you look at Boar's Head Road, there's this big knob of rock, and then it drops right down behind it. And if you go onto the site, we're actually below, significantly below Boar's Head Road. So we're bringing in fill primarily where the basement will be. There'll be some breaking to get the building down a little bit. Primarily, it's the parking lot. You have ground that looks like this. We're just going to fill it level and then build a parking lot on top of it instead of this continuous hammering to take it down. And I think, unfortunately, the existing development right beside us is negatively affecting us because they have a site that I did a bunch of work on that site, and if you look at it, it looks like this. Big hump right in the middle. So that whole center has to go down. So there is a lot of rock breaking on the existing site beside us, which is under construction now. So everybody's hearing that. I can't speak to how long it's going to take. A lot of that depends on the contractor. You put 3 breakers in, you get done a lot faster than 1, but there's a certain amount of rock that just needs to come out. But what I can say about this height thing, and I know Cindy Robertson showed this picture of a building towering over, these buildings are below the buildings around us and below the roads. Like, we're not way up above everything else. There was a conversation about the need for playgrounds, trails, so on. What do the kids do? I don't really know how to address this because I feel like an individual application is the wrong spot to address it. This is like, if this is the direction the city wants to go, we need to set guidelines and encourage developers to follow it. I would say that this particular developer had a fairly lengthy conversation with us about where the amenity space goes, where the trail network goes, where he wants to build public gardens that people could actually go out and garden. But one of the challenges for the residents is this is going to be for the people that live there, right? This is not going to solve the neighborhood problem. So I feel like there's another conversation that has to happen outside of this of, is there something between developers and the city that happens to build larger facilities? But I don't think I can address that right now. I can say he has some pretty elaborate plans for a trail network. He wants people to enjoy living there. He's going to own these buildings. He's built a number of buildings out in BC for clients. He knows what works and doesn't work as an architect in BC. And he's building this one for himself, and he wants it to work. But obviously that's what he tells me, and I believe him. But there was conversation about too dense land values. I'm not sure there's much I can say about that. Like, we feel that this is not overly dense. Next person spoke about safety for kids on the road, the blind spot in the road, sidewalks on the opposite side of the street. And like, this is a bit of a chicken and egg thing where if you're not willing to have the density, the city can't spend the money to upgrade infrastructure or in the surrounding neighborhood. If your expectation is wait for the infrastructure, then the development never happens. So this one looks after the sidewalks on site and getting people out to it. We have a crosswalk across to the existing sidewalks. We can hope someday that there's improvements in that sidewalk network in the existing parts of town. Then there was a long conversation about rock breaking too close to seniors and what that does. The only thing I can say is we're further away than the existing development now, but this is the nature of construction. Next person spoke about the very same ideas: noise, adjoining site condition, you mentioned blocking sun. Again, the 6-story building is set down low. We've done the analysis, like there is no shadows on anybody. The next one spoke about density, traffic, and existing project, yes. So density and traffic, again, the same thing. And then we heard about the need for playground and about kids are walking on the street today. So I'm not sure, again, I feel like this is back to that conversation that has to happen outside the space. Did I miss anything? Do you have specific questions?
Yes, clarification for area number 3 in the project.
So, sorry?
The clarification for area number 3 in the project. The project is 1, 2, 3. Area number 3 is on Woodward Avenue.
So what is lot 3?
Yes.
What is the purpose of it? So that, I thought I mentioned that. So what the point of it is, it will become a separate single-family lot that's detached from the development, so that even if something happened in the future, someone else acquired this or whatever, there can never be an access through that lot. It will be a single-family lot fronting on Woodward Avenue. It's a standalone lot, separate from this development, keeps its existing designation.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, your first problem is golf operators next door. They've been hammering, digging, and that's a problem for the neighbors, and you just inherited it. Like, did this guy that bought this, did he come here and look at that himself?
Yep.
He came and looked at it.
And he's
So-
coming back for the council meeting. He asked if he had to come here for this meeting, and he was already previously engaged, and he begged off coming.
So you say he built, this is 86 and 80. What's he built before and where at?
So not personally, he's an architect. So he
Okay.
worked
He's
similar to me.
design.
He's
So
the
he's
consultant
design.
that works for other people.
He
So
wants to-
this time, it's him and 2 of his friends have gone together, started a company, bought the property, and they're building this as the retirement project. So they're gonna own this, and this is their,
Is the property already bought?
Yep.
It's got nothing to do with zoning, whether it gets owned or not? They
He-
just outwardly bought it?
he bought it, he owns it. The transfer's happened.
So you're saying that he's the type of gentleman that wants to do something for the people, make them happy. Besides apartments in the building, is there rooms downstairs, like, different rooms like other
Like
buildings?
amenity space?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like gyms and all that stuff, he has like, and he's got bicycle parking in the underground parking, and he's got a common room, and he has floor plans for all those different spaces, the same as what everybody else puts in, like the gym, the common room,
Yeah, okay, good.
Is there any other questions?
I have one over here.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Peter.
I'm sorry. Was there ever consideration or conversation around linking this development to Woodward Avenue for pedestrians? Because when I look at that site and what's surrounding it, any kid's going to head to Millersville North, or they're going to head to MGLT, so they're going to be heading in that direction. But there's no,
So there hasn't been yet, but when I was sitting up there and I heard about all the schools and the kids going to schools and they need to cross the street and going down the sidewalk, in my head, I'm thinking, if I'm a kid, I'm going out back.
well, they are.
There's going to be a path.
They're going to go.
So I think he would be open to that. We'll definitely go back to him, talk about like, look, let's like the trail network, let's keep it gravel, let's put some posts. You can't drive on it. Let the kids walk on something that's nice. Keep
And Woodward's
maintaining
the
it.
street that the traffic doesn't, the bus traffic doesn't go down.
That's right.
Other
Yeah.
than the one-offs that go up through Marlin. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to beat a path through there whether you agree to put it in or not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, good point. Any other questions for the applicant at this time? Thank you. I know we've got some questions for staff.
Thank you.
So at this time, I'm going to conclude public hearing, and I will have couple questions for staff. Can you start on the building height, please, and explain that a little bit more, and then we'll talk about some of the other questions.
And Eva can probably clarify.
I was just
that
going to say, there
quickly.
may be some confusion because previous to the amendment in the mid-January, it was deemed R1, and you would have had to go to RH to reach 6 stories. At this time, with the updates to the RM zone, you can go up to 6 stories by right in the RM zone, which is, forgive me on the meters, I believe 21 meters.
Yeah, so the current maximum building height in that is 6 stories or a maximum of 21 meters, and that was through zoning reform undertaken in January.
Thank you. Councilor Gary, you got questions for staff?
Yeah, can you just remind us what is going in next door that they're doing all the hammering?
So likely all the noise is coming from the New Brunswick housing project, which I believe is 20 units. It's 2 separate apartments from last year it was rezoned. And it would be a separate project.
And how high?
I believe it's 3 stories. Not looking at the plan.
Yeah,
And as said, they
were-
had to do a lot more rock breaking.
Yeah, they had a substantial rock breaking to do, and I believe they were modular construction. I think there were 3 stories. They maybe were 4, but they were 10 units each with fairly robust parking provided between them.
Okay, thank you.
And you have a question for staff?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, can we talk about amenities? And can we talk about what our neighborhoods are looking like and how we keep dense neighborhoods from just being overcrowded? And I guess what's the trigger for adding amenities? And how do we get attention to neighborhoods like this that are, seeing some kind of rapid additions?
So I can start with the on-site amenity requirements. This does trigger the intensified amenity requirements. So it is 7.5 square meters per unit will be required, with some of that being common and some of it being private. And it does have to be programmed space. So it can't just be, well, I have this green space, you can use it. It has to be trails or playgrounds or kind of park designed spaces on site for the residents. It can also be gyms, interior spaces, the like. Then when you're moving out, it is, as Andrew Toole said, it is a consideration of we need to see the density come first to prioritize these areas. Things like sidewalks and stuff come with that increased demand. And if we don't have the increased demand, it will just get pushed further and further down the priority list. So
So I guess, I wish we had a more direct reward system, I guess, for neighborhoods that receive extra density, so that you see something more immediate, because I know how this works. Like, we get this big budget and a list of priorities and things get shuffled and moved, and I get that, but you don't always, it's not always easy to see the connect with where the investment in a certain neighborhood happens and the residents get a bunch more density, which can be good with a bunch of amenities that go with it, but I don't know if that they always see that connection or that it even happens. So how do you get it bumped up, or how do you have a conversation about a playground that is deficient, that's next to a school with a lot of family density being added to the area?
So I will stop Yeva before she goes. So we circulate all of these applications to all of our service areas, including parks, infrastructure, transit. So they're aware when new density is being proposed, so they can incorporate that into how they prioritize neighborhoods. Specifically with the pedestrian infrastructure, so sidewalks, we asked if there would be a need to have them on the north side of the street. And because of the topography, it wasn't really feasible to put in a sidewalk that would meet standards and would be able to be safely designed. Hence, instead, the crosswalk to provide it to the existing sidewalk. They did not flag any infrastructure improvements to existing park spaces. And with that, there would be, I think, a combination of what park spaces are owned and managed by the city versus which ones are owned and managed by the schools or other entities. So we are flagging this as part of it. With transit, as density occurs and more projects get developed in certain areas, it provides a method for them to assess their existing transit routes and in the future be able to really establish those routes based on density, number of residents, as well as things like businesses, to make sure that they're lining up their routes with best proximity to the most residents as possible. So that is one thing that they look at. And then with parks as well, they do look at that as well. Private developers can include park-like amenities on their spaces, but as indicated by the applicant, they would be for the sole use of the tenants or residents of the property. So if they have playground equipment or anything like that. The exception might be if they do have a trail connection they establish along the perimeter of the property that they welcome people to use in order to get, essentially to cut through the property to get to another street, then that can be incorporated at their, I guess, their willingness to allow external access.
So as this would stand right now, the new developments that are being added to this neighborhood, there would be nothing specific added in the same, I guess, well, they won't be built by that time either, but that by the end of the project being built, there's no guarantee of anything. It's just that it's hopeful that it gets added to the bucket list and prioritized. Okay, so here's what I take from that. You said the municipal plan is supposed to be due for an update next year. Let's action something around that looks more tied in and specific. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the answer. Yeah.
Terry, you've got a question for staff?
Yes, please. Could you clarify for me the comments about the height? We've got the opponent saying that it's a towering structure with shadowing problems, and the applicant is saying the topography is much lower and it would not be a problem or obtrusive with shadowing problems. Could you?
I can say that I haven't walked the site personally, but you can see from like geotechnical maps that it does have a bit of a topography change across the site from rock at the front to a bit of a dip, and then again up on rock. We would generally look at height, those things to make sure that they conform to the bylaw also at the building permit stage. Right now it's being proposed as 6 stories, which does align. And with the amount of setbacks we require for larger buildings, it increases after 4 stories. So the general setback increases by a couple of meters every story you go up. So it will push it further away from that lower density. And then, of course, there's landscaping requirements they have to fit in there. So we don't generally demand shadow studies. They have indicated it won't be a problem.
And the second point, the comment about perhaps an access or a roadway or walkway to Woodward, what would be the process? Does it have to go back to staff to amend the application, or how is that dealt with?
So at this time, we are just doing the rezoning. If they were to do the subdivision later on, they were talking about that third lot, that is a staff level process. For pathways, that would just be on their public site. That's just their own proper development. If they wanted to give it to the public or make it a public right of way, that would be a different subdivision process.
Thank you.
And I will add, with the proposals, as they move through the process, we do not tie down all specific components of a site plan, so there is flexibility to make changes. If an additional actual road access was being considered, it would be something that infrastructure would look at to make sure that if something's proposed, that the placement would be suitable and would be a safe access to add. So not adding something where there could be a sightline issue or anything based on the topography.
Thank you. Bill?
Sorry, I just want to reiterate something you said, Jennifer, about flagging the parks and playgrounds. I'm very pro parks and playgrounds. And they said they've already flagged that for this development. Is that what I understood you saying? Or is this something that you would have to take back to them?
So we circulate every rezoning application we get to parks and indicate this is being proposed. Are there any concerns? Is there any investment that needs to be done? And they did not respond with anything needs specifically to be done based on what's proposed. As projects do go through the process, Parks is aware of what gets approved, and they do see that as how neighborhoods change can play a role in how they select which parks to be redesigned. As well, when subdivisions are being considered, they have the opportunity to either request land space for parks. Granted, you'd have to have a large enough area so that the 8% or 10% land that you'd be taking would be actually sufficient in size to do something with. But they do have those opportunities to provide comment and feedback through these processes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee members have questions for staff at this time? Thank you. So I'm looking for some discussion or what you would like to do here.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I have two questions if they can be added, and I think people broached them, but I just wasn't sure. Can we make a condition about the pathway, or is it too early in the process?
I would say it can be something the applicant can take back for consideration, but without us knowing specifically what the topography is.
Okay.
If you required that and it resulted in them having to do rock breaking to create the path, that might
Undo any of the goodwill.
undo any
Yeah.
of the goodwill
Yeah.
that there might be with them currently proposing not to do rock breaking.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to leave that to the developer. He seemed quite open to exploring that further, so that's good. And in terms of the playground, where it's where our departments have already reviewed and said, we think we're good, and then the neighbors are all like, we don't think we're good. Is there anything that we can do or should be doing to bring attention to that to staff, that perhaps this might be an issue they haven't considered in a different way?
Internally, planning staff can go back and let them know that the neighborhood does have a number of small children, and they are very anxious to see, I don't know specifically which playground enhanced and if it's owned by the city, but
School, but
they
maybe
like
that's an issue.
playgrounds and they should be better or bigger. We can take that back and provide that feedback to them.
Please.
I don't know about their internal, I guess, review and how they do their planning for new playground equipment or how that works with the schools. I'm looking at Councillor Sullivan, who may have some more general knowledge, just as being a councillor who is involved in the broader budget process.
Chair, with your permission, I'll jump in on my 2 cents on playgrounds. So there are city playgrounds that we fund and look after. There are school playgrounds that schools fund and look after. A lot of school playgrounds get built and improved through local initiatives at the school and fundraising. And I know applying through LPP money through the city, I know we've supported some of those initiatives. Some playgrounds get built with provincial government money because it's provincial government land and property. I would suggest, given if you read what's going on right now in education, they probably don't have a lot of funding for playgrounds. But the city itself wouldn't be involved directly in improving in a school playground. Helps, but
Okay, yeah, and I guess if we're dependent on something that's deficient, then what's our plan? Yeah.
if I were recommending a course of action,
Yeah.
If the parents and community at any of the schools in the neighborhood got together and started planning and working on improving their playgrounds, likely somehow the city would probably find a way to partner either with an LPP, application for some assistive funding. Certainly, it helps all residents. You'd likely see the city, whatever we could do to support that effort. But right now, the city doesn't have any playgrounds in that area. There are 3 schools that kind of sort of half do, if you know what I mean.
I know. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I have a question for the city.
Jennifer, she's got a question.
Are you doing the same with the schools as you notify them or give them that you now in the Milledgeville have more than 10 projects are going on? Some of them are already done and some of them is still going and some of them to plan for the future for the school capacity?
So school boards do their own growth study monitoring. that the planning department is not involved in. So they would do their own growth forecasting to determine what their needs are on a broader approach. We wouldn't be able to speak to how they undertake that, how they determine when a school needs to be expanded or when new schools need to be developed, but they are aware broadly of the growth that is occurring in the city and in different neighborhoods. And it's, I guess, under their jurisdiction to make those arguments to the provincial government regarding prioritizing the development of new schools. And the city has been very lucky that we have had 2 new schools approved in the last couple of years within the city, one in the North End and one in the Central Peninsula.
Yes, but this depends on the applications that going for the schools, how many kids in the daycares. This is that they can get the numbers, but they don't know about the project or how many units will be here. These units will have kids.
So
they don't know anything about
So
that.
the school boards are aware of growth happening in the city, and the school boards in the province make the decisions as to when new schools are proposed and built. The planning department does not have a say in that, and I'm actually not certain to what role the city itself is involved in discussions with prioritizing schools within the overall provincial budget. That would be, I hate to pick on the councillors, but they would maybe have a bit more insight based on previous discussions around the current schools, but
Feel free to pick on the counselors.
yeah.
Our influence would be entirely political. Like we have we can't tell. The school district itself makes recommendations to the province what their priorities are for new schools. As politicians, we can talk to other politicians and say, we'd really like you to do this, but that's it. That's all the power we have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So what is the pleasure of the committee at this time? Are we going to make a recommendation? And given that between now and council, we might have some confirmation of paths or what have you, I'll let somebody make a motion. And somebody? So, and you're moving staff recommendation with anything?
No, I would like to put about 4 conditions on, but it sounds like I'm not allowed for most of them, so. I'm trusting some people to do some good work on the way. Okay, thank you.
Have a motion, you've seconded that, Phil?
I'd like to speak to
Question?
the motion.
You'd like to amend?
Speak to the motion.
Speak to the motion, go ahead, please.
So, not that everybody out there follows PAC closely. But this one's really hard for me because I know we need more housing in St. John. We need quality housing in St. John. There's nothing about this project that doesn't tell me that it looks really cool. And there's lots of things in this that would make this a great project. Somebody mentioned, is it the right spot? And I'm going to be very consistent. I voted against the Charlie Bird development because I thought, if you don't know, I've grown up in Milledgeville. I live in Milledgeville, so I'll share my bias. But in that development, you had bungalow, 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 4 stories. I drive by it a couple of times every day. It is an incredibly quality, well-built, good-looking building that looks massive, in my opinion, against the single bungalows that it's around. And it's 4 stories. So the reason I asked about the property next door is I voted against one on the west side because it didn't there was no step up from the bungalows around it. And so this one would step down to Kennebec Manor, but still, as I said about the one on Sandy Point Road above the valley, even though it may be in a bit of a gully, will still be very large, in my opinion, and not be a fit for this area. And the comment I've made before, and I'll say it again. Even though we need more housing, I feel for the 50 years down the line, I want St. John to look like it was built with a purpose and not we needed to stick things in here or there. And that is absolutely no comment on, I think, what the quality of this project could be or would be if it was developed. With regards to the rock breaking, yeah, it woke my, well, I don't know if my dogs woke me up or the rock breaking at the Charlie Bird property woke me up for 2 years. But, you know, it was so loud and so constant, I kind of got used to it. It would lull me to sleep early in the afternoons. But that's going to come with construction. Like if something got built there under the current zoning, unfortunately, you're going to get that anyway. But for me, I'm going to vote against it really based on, I don't want St. John in 50 years, people wondering why there are all these odd-looking things stuck in the middle of neighborhoods.
Thank you. I'll call for a vote now. All those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? You've got all this, 1, 2, 3. The motion has passed. Thank you. That concludes item 5.4. Go back here to.
No, 5.3.
That concludes 5.3. Now we're going to 5.4. My computer's shut down here. Everything's. Sorry about that. I think that this should only be, it's 8 o'clock.
Why don't we take a 5-minute recess while
Okay,
everyone...
can I get a motion to take a 5-minute aisle break? Okay, all those in favor? All right, okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break? Yes, 5 minutes, just a quick one, people. I'd like to get this finished up here. Cozy Lake Road. Thank you.
I feel like Mary goes to the drive by. Even the fact that they don't even know this one is like that, yeah. Like I feel good having voted against that one, because I'm like, it's bad, so but this team,
All I've done is build legal businesses. Everybody requiring that.
that's
Yeah?
it's resulted in a developer's issue.
Do we get very many that go to the planning appeal board?
I have never for my entire career. I did create an insurance plan in which that ended up because
But that used to happen all the time.
yeah, I asked Mark if he could not land this time. We haven't had any issues since I've been here. We've had someone suicide.
Yeah.
Probably yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because they didn't want homeless people.
Yeah.
But they never, we haven't been notified that that's why.
Yeah, they would. See, when I was up in Fairvale, which is way out east, PAC, it seemed like half of them were going to, and then Reszone, they probably had one a year. So it was pretty fun with that. But nowadays, I think the process now is, and they probably people don't win them very often. So
I mean, you have to always make the argument that the process was like a miss stories on the channel.
yeah.
There's other ones that are poor, and I'm like, ugh. Depends what you do. So it's hard
Yeah.
to judge.
Yeah. So I didn't really see who voted against it.
Yeah.
Jerry?
Oh, I was surprised.
Jerry?
I think it'd be cool if they built that a whole pedestrian way.
No,
So it's
the
like
councilors.
cars one way, pedestrians on the other.
Interesting. Freaking counselors, they're always sucking up. They're always sucking up.
I normally have trouble with some of these people.
All right. We got everybody?
Who's against Reszone? No, three.
Three. The two counselors.
With it next.
Jerry's surprised.
All right, let's go here. I don't know where they, Gary, but we'll get started.
I don't know where else. Probably in the
Washroom is, Cheyenne.
Do you want to leave a second over back?
Yeah.
Here's, I'll shine this. And we're missing Peter too.
Yeah, we're missing two then. Are they out there talking? What's that? Let's start here with Peter in the washroom. Peter, we're just waiting for Peter. I can start talking. So, item 5.4, I'll bring the meeting back to order. It's 8:10, you do all that anyway, Colleen, so thank you. Item 5.4, the applicant is Hughes Surveys and Consultants. The landowner is Catherine Craig. Location is 160 Cozy Lake Road, PID 55005375. Existing plan designation is rural resource and parks and natural areas. Proposed plan designation is rural residential and park and natural areas. Existing zoning is rural RU. Proposed zoning is rural residential RR and park. Application type is municipal plan amendment and rezoning. Community Planning Act authorizes the Planning Advisory Committee to give its views to Common Council concerning proposed amendments to the municipal plan and zoning bylaws. Common Council will consider the committee's recommendation at a public hearing on Monday, June 2nd. I'm going to read the executive summary. The application is seeking subdivide the existing lot into 3 lots. The existing residential development would be located on 1 lot with 2 additional building lots being created. This proposal requires a municipal plan amendment to redesignate a portion of the land from rural resource to rural residential and the rezoning of the developable portions of the property from rural to rural residential. Rezoning of the existing water body to the park zone would ensure alignment with existing park and natural area designation. A subdivision application would be processed following an approval of the municipal plan and zoning bylaw. Denial is recommended by staff as the application does not align with the intent of the provincial statements of interest, the municipal plan, and the zoning bylaw. Please.
Thank you. As stated, the application is seeking to subdivide the existing lot into 3 lots, which would be processed at the staff level. The existing home would be located on Remnant 01, with 2 additional building lots being created, Lot 2401 and Lot 2402. This proposal requires a municipal plan amendment to redesignate a portion of land from rural resource to rural residential, and the rezoning of the developable portions of the property from rural to rural residential. Subject property is located on Cozy Lake Road on the northeast side of the city, just off Route 111, and is located outside of the primary development area. Surrounding area, including the properties located on the Cozy Lake Road, are zoned rural and contain a mix of undeveloped forested areas and existing privately serviced residential development. Certain areas located along Loch Lomond Road in proximity to the airport and Churchland Road contain existing rural residential development that is zoned rural residential. Here is a picture of the subject site. Subject property is currently designated rural resource and park and natural area within the municipal plan. Municipal plan defines the rural resource designation as lands generally expected to remain in their natural state or be used for regulated resource activities such as forestry, renewable energy, agriculture, fisheries, and extraction. with also limited instances of residential. Redesignating the property to rural residential designation would be required to prevent the subdivision of the subject property. Rural residential designation is intended to accommodate unserviced residential development outside of the primary development area. While the designation allows for existing or previously approved residential subdivisions to be redesignated to rural residential, the expansion of the rural residential designation is not permitted in the municipal plan. Policy LU 104 states that the rural residential area designation is intended to support existing rural residential uses, with new lot creation generally discouraged unless previously approved by council. While development on existing lots designated rural residential is permitted, the focus remains on preserving the rural character and avoiding further expansion. Policy LU 105 indicates that redesignation of lands to the rural residential designation shall only be considered in areas where existing rural residential designation is located and was or in places that was unintentionally omitted or to be approved as a legal land use. Excuse me. Subject property is currently zoned rural, which supports resource-based activities like agricultural, forestry, and fisheries, and limited residential use. The rural zone requires that newly created lots have a minimum lot size of 40,000 square meters or 4 hectares, supporting resource-related activities, again with minimal residential development. This application proposes rezoning to rural residential to allow privately serviced dwellings on large lots. As previously discussed, the rural residential zone is not permitted to expand to areas that are not currently designated rural residential. If the rezoning proceeds, it is recommended that the area containing Woolsey Lake is rezoned to park to reflect its natural boundary and alignment with park and natural area designation. Variances would be required to reduce the required frontage on the proposed lots 2401 and 2402 during the subdivision process, which would be, again, processed at the staff level. Letters are mailed out to property owners within 100 meters of the subject site on May 7th. No letters were received as this presentation. The public notice was posted on May 8th, and the public hearing is scheduled for June 2nd. Staff are recommending that Common Council deny bylaw amendment CP 10639 and CP 199, which would redesignate 3.02 hectares of the subject site from rural resource to rural residential, and rezone the subject site from rural to rural residential and park. Thank you.
Any members have questions for staff at this time? Jerry has a question for you, Thomas.
When this was at council many moons ago, council give it a 30-day brief, and then we sent it to PAC where it is today. Is that a time that people can oppose it in letters in those 30 days?
That's correct as
Was
well.
there any letters in opposition to it then?
No.
So there was no letters at all in opposition?
No, not during the 30-day period and not during this process as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, oh, Ann, you've got a question too, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I've been kind of excited about this application. I'm going to tell you why. It's one of those tests of the plan to see, because the plan's old, right? And we realize that. Well, I don't know, what's it, 10, 12, 15, where are we at for years old? And we've changed densities and zonings, and we've had housing crises and all kinds of things that have impacted it. So I guess my question is, from the early days, even when we've made decisions like this, it's a pretty hard line by times. Is the appetite and is justification still there for this level of restriction for subdividing lands in the rural resource area? Because we do have a housing crisis. We have not enough home ownership happening in the city, and we seem to be having a rough time getting that part going. We have good uptake of development in our core area, in our PDA right now. And even, while this debate that I'm interested in having, I don't want to see huge, giant developments that change critical masses of people out in these areas and require more schools and parks. Is there somewhere in between, have we moved the needle at all in terms of our appetite for how large a lot has to be to subdivide twice, especially in light of every other lot we're making smaller, and houses we're making smaller, and people can't afford anything bigger anyway. Anyway, I'm starting off that. I'd appreciate your comments, and if anybody has anything they throw in, anyway, I'm eager to have this debate. Thanks.
And I'll prevent Thomas from answering, because I think this is a broader policy question that would involve service areas beyond planning, and would really involve a much more robust discussion than just, asking an individual staff person, that, because there would be components involving the province in regards to lot design, involving well and septic systems, and what those capacities are, including aquifers. So I think it's a much broader policy discussion that would require research and analysis to really determine whether a revision of the approach the plan has should be undertaken, and would be very, very well suited for the undertaking of the review of the municipal plan that's coming next year,
Yeah,
and as well
thanks,
the growth strategy that will be leading the way with that.
Yeah, 100% agree. In the interim, as the plan is far past the point where it should have been updated, because that was supposed to happen at the 5-year mark, through no fault of any resident. And we have preemptively started to upzone things, even in advance of us upzoning them formally. We started to have this appetite for the 4 to 6 units and more density on corners, and those things started to happen because of housing crisis, and because they still fit the intention of the municipal plan, I guess, on the whole. So, I guess I'm wondering how that plays out here, because we don't have a municipal plan review happening currently. It is long overdue, and I don't think residents are expected to wait 15, 20 years for people to make a revised decision if we've moved as a city. So anyway, I'll leave it there. I want to listen to it all, because I'm not fully sure, but I feel like what I'm trying to say is I feel like I have a greater appetite for this, and I don't think it'll cannibalize development happening in the core or overly contribute to servicing issues. But I do have some other questions that may change my mind again. Yeah, thanks.
Well, let's hear from the applicant. So at this point, let's bring the applicant forward before we get into this. So at this point, I'd like the applicant to come forward, and if you state your name.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, committee members, staff, members of the public. My name is Matthew Blaine. I'm here to talk in regards to the application submitted for 160 Cozy Lake Road. On an aside, I am excited to have the conversation about what's happening in rural areas, and even some other projects we've worked on that we could talk about how other areas, we've been doing work in Chipman, we've been doing work in Charlotte County, where there are starting to have these different ideas for how to develop rurally in a environmentally sensitive way. You're not taking as much footprint, you're not taking as much space, you can leave more buffers between lots and everything. So it is happening. So we'd be happy to follow up that conversation with some questions. Also, I'd like to inform you guys that the landowners are here, and there's members of the family that might jump in to talk here later on, or if you have any questions directly for them, they'll be here to answer them. So without further ado, we'll jump right into things. I guess off the bat, unfortunately, we're not able to be in agreement with staff recommendation. We'd like to pivot and maybe get some of you guys on board with actually being in favor of this application. So a little bit of background on the property. It was subdivided with some of the adjacent lots back in 1978. At that time, interestingly enough, there was restrictive covenants put in those deeds about ensuring that the lots were used for private dwellings. So in the developer's mind, when these were created, they were residential in nature. In the 1970s, this parcel was actually located on Sproul Road. It actually looped all the way down from Loch Lomond up and around to Churchland Road, and that was one continuous road, Sproul Road, which there's still a segment down on Loch Lomond Road that exists today. The Craigs ended up purchasing the property in 1986. They've occupied it ever since, and their wish is to be able to age in place, or as eloquently put before, I think, live from cradle to grave. So that's the idea here, is that they want this application approved, which would allow their children to be landowners and live in homes of their own in close proximity as they age, in order to provide them with ongoing care and support. So that's really what this application is after. The proposal, as Thomas had outlined, we're looking to create 2 additional lots out of a portion of PID 55005375. The remnant lands would contain the existing residence that is already there and has been there since the 70s and 80s. The landowners discussed their goal with city staff back last year, November, December, and they received an outline for the process that would be required in order for this subdivision to take place. That included both a municipal plan amendment to the rural residential designation, as well as rezoning to the rural residential zone. So that's why we're here today. They retained Hughes Surveys and Consultants, and we prepared the tentative subdivision plan and application, and we're here tonight. So what are the existing conditions? Again, it's been pointed out, we highlighted the property in pink on the picture here. It's currently designated as rural resource, and there's a definition in the municipal plan about what is a rural resource. Well, it's primarily undeveloped lands with the potential for rural resource activity, such as pits and quarries and/or forestry uses. When you look at that and you look at the neighborhood in the Cozy Lake Road area, that certainly conflicts with the existing residential nature of the area. It existed prior to the creation of this municipal plan, and it's still residential today. It's not resource intensive as the designation would lead you to believe. What are we looking to change to? We're looking to change to the rural residential designation. What's the definition of that in the municipal plan? It applies to lands that accommodate existing or approved low-density residential development that is not located within a rural settlement area, is unserviced, and is located beyond the primary development area. If you read that definition, that sounds like what the lot exists as today, but somehow during the municipal plan process, it was not considered an existing rural residential development and instead got lumped in with rural resource. So staff reviewed some of the policies that were pertinent to the application at hand. We feel, as you would be aware, that no project is going to fit every policy exactly. It's meant to align with the general intent of the municipal plan. We feel like when we review this, there certainly is a lot of alignment on different features that would tend or lead you to believe that it really does belong in the rural residential zone. For example, under policy LU4, there is similar property zoned as rural resident or designated as rural residential, only 100 meters away from the subject site. In the package you have in front of you, it outlines 750 meters, but it is actually much closer than that. This proposal looks to utilize existing infrastructure. That's a key element of this policy LU4. It's using an existing maintained road and is simply infilling along that. There's no additional sprawl or road network required. It exists there, and they're looking to create more lots on an existing road. Policy LU 105, based on the historical nature of the residential development on Cozy Lake Road, there's no apparent reason why it was omitted and not included in the rural residential designation when surrounding properties in close proximity that also were existing and residential properties got designated differently than the one at hand. So this policy actually gives an opening for, hey, was this designated properly when it was initially done? Or if it wasn't, there is the ability to switch to the rural residential designation, which is covering the fact that They say that you don't want to do that. They gave themselves an out that said, if it was supposed to be that way, you can in fact change it to rural residential. A few of the other policies that were reviewed, under rural residential, it does allow for the creation of two new lots that are less than 4 hectares, as long as it meets the zoning criteria. We are looking to do that in this application, so it's actually aligning with that policy, although it would require a rezoning and/or variances in the existing zone. Again, in rural residential designation, it's discouraging new streets. This current proposal, there's no new streets being created, so we feel like it is in alignment with that policy. There's other various policies that aim to limit on-service development in the city of St. John, but when you look at those words, it's not saying that approving rural development is not allowed. It wants to limit it. There is still some allotment that it can happen, and you have the flexibility and the ability to let that happen. As Thomas mentioned, zoning, after staff had reviewed it, they indicated the subdivision plan would require rezoning to the rural residential zone. If this was the case, the proposed lots would meet all criteria of that zone, with the exception of lot frontage, as it would require a variance for a flag lot type entrance. Just quickly on the statements of public interest, there's been a lot of talk, more so outside of the city than in with when these were released. The government of New Brunswick released additional guides and information bulletins to provide additional context on these. One of the things they hit on was that the wording in these documents were intentionally aspirational to allow for flexibility, as well as acknowledging that they aren't retroactive. So your existing municipal plan, your existing zoning bylaw aren't meant or don't have to agree with the statements of provincial interest. It's once they are renewed or a new plan is created that they should align with these statements. Outside of those details, the statement that's most applicable to the situation at hand is regarding settlement patterns. So in those, the gist of it is, if you're in a serviced area, they're promoting development, new subdivisions, new roads, the like. If you're in an unserviced area, they want to limit sprawl, so they don't want you to create new roads. But again, in these rural areas, there's a settlement pattern, SB6, that specifically says, if there's an existing maintained public road, you can develop on that. So despite being in the city where there are serviced areas, you're not furthering exacerbating the issue of sprawl when the road networks already exist and they're there, the municipality is paying for them, you're just infilling along that. So there's a difference, and they noted in this that if it's an existing road, it's not in that same classification of sprawl that they're looking to avoid in these rural areas. So I thought that was important to note. Move into some impact on adjacent lands. As you guys just saw, not always the case that the neighbors are on board with the applications that come before PAC and council. In this case, the applicants have a letter signed by their 2 adjacent landowners in support of the application and urging the approval of it. So that just goes to speak of the low impact of this application. It's continuing the existing use in the area, which is residential in nature, despite it having the designation of rural resource. So keeping the rural character of the neighborhood, this proposal would check that. The land use is compatible. It would protect environmental areas and avoid water bodies, water courses, and their corresponding buffers. And it additionally, it helps with the tax base. Again, no new infrastructure, no new roads, but you get someone paying taxes for a new house that all they have to do is slap in a driveway and get some garbage collection that's already coming by, and it's an added bonus to the tax base. I guess the last thing I'll leave with is the precedent. So in these situations, it's often helpful to look in the area and see if similar applications have been made, if there's similar qualities between them. So in this one, you don't have to look very far away. As shown on the screen there, 100 meters away, there was a parcel that underwent the same process, a municipal plan amendment in 2017. It was done to facilitate a subdivision of that land where one parcel was to retain the existing residence and the other parcel was to be developed for residential purposes. So that is a very good example of what we're seeking to do here. It went through that process, it got subdivided, and it's now 2 lots. So that was completed under CP 106-14, dated 2017-06-12. So the same municipal plan was in effect at that time as it is right now. We're seeking to do something similar. In that case, it didn't meet the 4-hectare requirement of the rural zone, and it was allowed or varied at the development officer level to allow the creation of that. So with that, the information, the examples, we believe that there is evidence to support a recommendation for approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions that come up, and thank you for your time and consideration. And like I said, the Craig family's here as well for any questions specifically to what their goal is, and more details on what they're looking to do with the property. Thank you.
Yes,
I have a couple.
thanks. I'm just wondering how much land or how much of this size is attributed to the water? Because on Remnant 01, where the house is existing, 1.36 hectares, but it looks like at least half of that is lake water, right?
Yeah, so, excuse me, through you, Mr. Chair. We have the lot 2401 as, it's approximately 2.8 acres. We specifically, for the purpose of this, and knowing that it would have a residence and a well and a septic on it, ensured that it had over 4,000 square meters outside of the buffered area so that it could accommodate those things.
And that's where I was headed with my questioning, just to see if it does meet those standards.
Yep.
And the same as the other ones, they're obvious, they look large enough.
Yes, exactly.
And is there a particular reason you're going for 2 additional lots and not just 1?
So there is, and they can speak a little bit more to it, but essentially 1 would be 2401. Again, I'll speak about my knowledge of it, would be developed as a single level retirement home for the existing landowners, and their daughter would actually move into their existing home, and she would be able to provide the ongoing care and support as they age. Lot 2402 is actually intended for their son, who does not live in that area right now, but would have the opportunity to come back and live and share in that burden of taking care and providing care for their parents. So the gist of it is 2 children to each have a lot there.
So it's all in the family.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I have one quick question. On lot 2402, it's quite a long piece from the road into that. Ballpark, how far is that? Like half a kilometer?
So it might not be clear, but the short section on the southern side of that driveway access strip is 213 meters.
Oh, quarter. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're basically going to have 2 driveways coming out onto the road, basically side by side.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. At this point, is there anybody else? We don't have any other questions right now. Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to speak for or against this application? Please come forward and state your name.
Thank you, folks. My name's Dave Merrithew. I live in the east side at Water Lily Way, about 4 kilometers from the Craigs. But for 25 years, I was the next door neighbor. And I just wanted to say a couple of things, please. You saw the picture of the Craigs home. It's immaculate. They're been great neighbors all this time. There wasn't one person on the road, Cozy Lake Road, that spoke against the application. And that speaks to, I believe, the quality of if you allow them to subdivide, what you'll see happen to the project. Secondly, and Ann, I was so glad to hear your question to staff because I think your plan is outdated. There is precedent to what the Craigs are asking for, not only from the property the young man spoke about, but my property was subdivided and against when the plan was in place. So, subdividing these two plans, another home built, the garbage truck and the plow going by it, now extra cost, and it didn't knock the pins out from underneath your municipal plan. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't go ahead and do this. We do have enough development downtown and so on in that area. It's time that this kind of infill, we take a look at it and allow this type of thing to, and all of it, it should have been in the plan in the first place, in my humble opinion. Yeah, I know, we won't go there, but it's time now, yeah. And just to the economics of it, there are now a couple of homes on that road subdivided, just like we're asking now. So that's an additional 10 G's property tax to the city. There's payback immediately for this kind of thing. So I want to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak on this? Please state your name.
Yeah, Aaron Craig, I'm the son.
Sorry. And you had a question?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, but I'm eager to hear from you. Yeah,
Sorry.
David, can I ask you a question? Thanks. So you lived there, anybody can probably answer this question, but you were there for many years and you're a counselor, so you're probably well aware. What's the likelihood of any resources being developed in that area?
What type of resources?
Anything that would fit into rural resource. Where you got room for a pit and quarry?
Yeah, it's not going to happen, my
Okay.
friend. No, it's.
Anybody doing forestry?
Pardon me?
Anybody doing forestry out there?
We knock a couple of trees down once in a while, Mike and I, but that was it. No,
Okay.
no forestry. No, this is just a quiet little subdivision. 2 more homes in it will just add to it, quite frankly.
Yeah, one thing that I think that you have as an advantage is it's like a cordoned off little section
It is. It's
of
very-
land. So I don't know how anything else could really intrude into that section without being, anyway, thank you, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
one.
Jerry's got a question for you too, David. Sorry, guys.
Seeing that you were the finance guy for that council before, can you tell me one thing that this would cost the city? The garbage trucks, the plow, they go through that road anyway.
Nothing. The cost of the city, when someone builds a house, the inspector's going out, that's offset by your permits. and so on.
Permits, you get
There's
permits for
No cost to the
everything.
city here. It's an immediate uptake of whatever the property tax and those
Cover everything.
2 homes would be, yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Please state your name.
Yeah, sure. My name's Aaron Craig. I'm the son of the current landowners on Cozy Lake. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it. And I wasn't really privy to this type of environment before, so I appreciate the time you guys put into it. I assume volunteers for the most part, so it's great. I just thought I'd add a little bit of context for the motivation behind what we're doing. So over the last several years, and mom and dad don't take offense to this, but they've been aging and fighting both cancer on my father and heart disease with my mother, and their kind of wish is to not be in the Kennebec manner with rock hammering beside them. They want to age in place effectively. So yes, my sister would move into the current dwelling. A single unit would be built beside it so that they don't have to go to a nursing home, and she'd be able to basically look after them near term. And then the other lot, the idea would be that depending on what you guys do as a Lorneville resident, to Lorneville, I'd probably develop out there myself. So that's the motivation behind it.
Thank you. Any questions? No, thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak for or against this application? Second time, is there anybody that would like to speak for or against this application?
Hi, I'm the owner, Catherine Craig, and I live at 160 Cozy Lake Road. And Aaron is right, and it's come home even more recently that I'm becoming a little bit more incapacitated as time goes on, so would really like to stay where we are. And we've been there now for 40 years almost, minus 6 months. And so that's the reason why we're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. And third and final call, is there anybody else who'd like to speak on this application? At this point, we will close the public hearing. Do we have questions for staff or motions, or what would you like to do there, Ann? I see you got light, Jerry's.
I want to just ask a question about the water access, and I probably should have asked the applicants, but I'm hoping staff knows. One thing, and this is, I always ask this about water, when we start to develop things around it and make subdivisions, are we closing off all water should be publicly accessible? Are we somehow landlocking this that it becomes privatized?
It is currently private and,
Wow.
because it's all, well,
It's already landlocked.
it's already landlocked.
What's done is done. Okay.
And the development for the parcel that's already developed is located partially within what would be the now enforceable Wawa buffer. So there would not be realistically a space where, like a public strip.
I was going to say, do we have an obligation to provide access for Ann McShane to go fishing?
I mean, I think if you ask them nicely, they might let you,
Okay.
but if there's fish there. But the way that the lot is currently developed, it would be very difficult to do a subdivision, I guess, of LPP that wouldn't impact their existing lot development.
I just want to make sure there's no well-traveled path that the public already uses to access this to do things. He's not allowed to speak anymore, is he? No.
They can
Yeah.
just shake their head no. I couldn't see anything on the aerial photo that looked like a goat path that the public would use.
Part of the lake touches the road.
So you could hang out on the road.
It does.
People access it from that side regardless. That's what I would do.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Do that, Ann.
Okay, thanks. Well, it's for everyone else. I just want to make sure. Yeah, thanks.
Jerry?
Yeah, I'm going to move a motion, but before I do, because this bugs me, we always grew up believing that we're supposed to come back and help our parents as children. And this fits that 100%. When I read this, it drove me crazy when staff recommended rejection because it was passed in municipal in 2009, I believe, so it's 15 or 16 years old. And life's changed in every aspect of life, right? So anyways, I want to move a motion that Jennifer can word it, that's against the recommendation of staff. And you can word it so when it gets to council, it's saying the right things, right?
So.
Because we've done this before and screwed it up.
Yeah, so you would like to move to approve the 2 drafted bylaws that Thomas included within there, with whatever the bylaw numbers are, ladies, we'll reference those, and we'll do it as 2 motions.
Right, whatever you said no to, I want to say yes to.
Yeah, I think we got that, yeah.
And I'll move that.
And we have a seconder, or we have a seconder. So we have a question, and I just want to review, is basically to go against staff recommendation and that we are approving this proposal as it's put forward to us.
Yeah,
Is that a
Jennifer
good way of
totally
putting it?
understands it.
I got a thumbs up there, so she's got it. So that's the motion. Any question? All those in favor? Opposed? Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. So next, do I get a motion to adjourn? Jerry? All right. Wow, 10 to 9. That's longer than I thought it was going to be.